listeners and readers of AwardsWatch.com. This is the Awards Watch Podcast, episode 221. I'm your executive editor, Ryan McQuade, and joining me is our editor-in-chief, Erik Anderson.
Hello, here we are.
And our associate editor, Sophia Ciminello.
Hi, guys.
It's, we are here. It's the big Oscar final predictions episode. You guys excited? You guys thrilled?
Yes.
Are you a little nervous?
I'm just wondering if we're going to get renewed for next season or if this is a season finale, like a series finale.
Well, it actually is kind of funny because this was the same gang that was here last year for this specific episode as well. So we did good enough to come back all the way back around the Earth, I guess, to do this episode this year. So little bit of a different outcome. Obviously last year was the Everything Everywhere All at Once domination. We might, obviously, knowing if you've listened to this show, as you should, know that there's an impending movie that's going to have a big night. But just how big a night is it going to happen? There's also a bunch of other categories that are still wide open that we're
obviously talking about Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Right?
Well, actually, Erik, it's just Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning now. They took off the Part 1 because they're going to change the name. Yeah, it really just sucks for physical media release and everything as well, too. But anyway, how are we all feeling? The season's almost over. We're a week out from the Oscars. It'll be done. Sophia, are you, let's just say, relieved?
I'm very relieved, but it's so strange because I keep thinking that it's over. And it is over in so many senses of it, right? But I just almost keep forgetting that these things are coming and happening. I got a movie ticket for a show during the SAG Awards last week, and then was like, oh, I need to change that because we have an awards show tonight. So it's just that kind of attitude is where I am right now, I think, with this season, because it has, I think, been sewn up for so long, and it really has, I think, felt very drawn out this year. And it does in some ways every year, but this year feels especially, I don't know, it's predictable. I think we have a lot of categories we'll go through today where I'm feeling very relaxed about my picks, which is odd. Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know.
It's never a good thing, right, Erik, to feel that relaxed going into Oscar night?
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously we think there's going to be a pretty big steamroll by Oppenheimer, but it's not that big. And there's certainly categories that it's not that competitive in, unless something just absolutely goes unhinged by everyone, and we see some history and records and all of that fun stuff. That could happen. Lots of things could happen.
It could. There's also, just the fear of also there is, there are tight races, and it's not necessarily vote splitting would be the thing, but down balloting is definitely a thing where just people just love a certain goddamn movie and they just do it. And Oppenheimer is for sure one of those because it's a technical achievement and people love those actors and they've been campaigning really well. And it's one of those kind of coronation moments for Nolan. We'll talk about that over this podcast. But then there's other films, too, where people do like to spread out the wealth and they like to vote, well, if this movie isn't going to win here and I know it's not going to win here, then I can vote over here. And then that could lead to some surprises. And I know that we will have plenty to say about that in one of the acting categories, at least, which is still the most important category of all, Best Actress. And maybe we'll talk about that in some screenplay categories is below the line. But we're going to talk about all 23 categories. We're not going to put some of these other categories on another podcast and delay that off, this main show. We're going to talk about all 23. We're going to give our predictions, and these are final predictions. So Erik can't go back. Well, Erik's the only one that can kind of, I guess, go back on it since he's writing pieces. But pretty much most of your pieces have
8 of them. So.
No, but most of them have been kind of locked and loaded, and they're ready to go. And everything.
Yeah, I'm not writing anything up until the official respective guild answers and gives us something, because I need the way that I present them, have the visual cues of here's who's won what, nominated where. I like the presentation of that. So, and we have this first week of March, a whole bunch of things, including 3 different award shows on the 3rd. So that's a hot mess.
Yep, absolutely. All right, are you guys ready? Let's do this. Let's do this. Erik, let's kick us off. Why don't you read off the nominees for Best Animated Short Film?
Oh, yay. These are not in alphabetical order, so just take it for what it is.
Great.
The nominees are Letter to a Pig, 95 Senses, Our Uniform, War is Over. Wait, War is Over.
Thank you.
It's all caps and an exclamation mark, inspired by the music of John and Yoko. And Pachyderm.
Here you go.
That's our lineup.
All right, Erik, what do you think is going to win this category?
This is a wacky category because most of it is actually quite depressing stuff. It's
that's not just in terms of the quality of the material. It's also just because of
we haven't even gotten there yet.
Yeah, but the film itself.
When this category was pretty heavy with Disney shorts and stuff. They were cute and sweet and kind of fun, and Pixar ones as well. And we've really kind of gotten into an era of like, how fucking dark can we go?
Hell yeah.
And it's interesting. Like Letter to a Pig is about pigs and Nazis, like quite literally.
It's quite bizarre. Yeah.
It's a movie.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a short, all right.
So I think this is between 2 films, with one that has a distinct advantage. I think actually 95 Senses is quite lovely and conceptually really beautiful, but it's almost a little too nice to actually win here.
I like the way you're saying that. It's too nice, so fuck it. It's not winning the Oscar. I love that.
So, being beaten over the head by the awfulness of War is Over and that needle drop and that ending, I just feel like is undeniable here.
Yeah. Okay. Sophia?
I mentioned this on the last show that my rule of thumb here is sometimes go with the one you like the least. And that for me is all caps, War is Over. I also think it has the advantage of the title, which sometimes comes up in the shorts categories. So, yeah, I think this one, it's going to win.
I would like to go on the record and say not only are the filmmakers of War is Over inspired by the music of John and Yoko monsters, but so is Eric Anderson, because he watched this fucking thing and sent it to us, said how bad it was. Kind of forced us to watch it in a sense, almost like torture style, some Zero Dark 30 sort of, Guantanamo Bay. Yeah. Clockwork Orange kind of stuff. You're right, Sophia. And we watched it. This is one of the most offensive things to an artist's legacy I think I've ever seen. Like it's so stupid. And for the most part, I was wondering through the first 9.5 minutes, what the hell this has to do with the music of John and Yoko. And then when the needle drop happens, it is an abomination. And therefore, it will be the Oscar winner in this category. Because, yeah, Sophia's right. Like, it's got literal celebrities in the title of their film. People will be like, well, that's easy. And most of these people don't watch the short films, let alone the feature films. So they will most likely give it to War is Over.
Even it's also undeniable because it has people backing it and a pedigree behind it. I can't believe we're spending so much time on this category. That include Peter Jackson's, Weta does all of the visuals. Thomas Newman did the score, and Sean Ono, their son, co-wrote it.
Yeah,
this is like
it's all there.
Yeah,
Proof's in the pudding.
It's a shit brew blend of just all the things that are going to make it a winner.
Awesome. Okay. On that note, documentary short film, Sophia, can you read the nominees, please?
Yeah, we have the ABCs of Book Banning, The Barber of Little Rock, Island in Between, The Last Repair Shop, and Nai and WIPO.
Okay. Sophia, how do you see this one playing out?
I think this is trickier than animated short, for sure. I'm actually going with The Last Repair Shop here because I think that's the one I have seen people respond really positively to recently. And I think about a lot of times in documentary short, there is some sort of issue attached to it. They like films that make them feel good. And there are a couple here that do that, but I think this one really has the right mix. And when we think about also that $15 million fund that was launched, that is a huge deal. And it happened during voting or right before voting, I believe. So that's it for me. I'm going with The Last Repair Shop.
Erik?
Yeah, you're exactly right. That campaign was launched the day before voting at Hollywood High School, and that tipped the balance for me. I had been, predicting Nai and WIPO because it is a lovely little film and has that sort of little film that could energy to it. It's also the shortest of all of them. And really in content, it is the slightest of them all. There's no issue. There's no obstacle, struggle, anything really quite like that. And there's an advantage to that as it sets itself outside of all the rest of them. But all the rest are very issue-driven films, which can be really popular here. But yeah, music stuff does really, really well. It's Ben Proudfoot and Chris Bowers. But yeah, the $15 million campaign, absolutely. I don't know how you ignore that.
Yeah, I think this is between two for me. I think it's between The Last Repair Shop and the ABCs of Book Banning. I feel like because that short and it's the ABC of Book Banning, that is very topical. And also too, if you're reading anything in the news about just book bannings in general, the title alone can jump out to you, even if you haven't seen any of this. You're like, holy shit, is this about like book banning and this topic and everything? That's very on the nose and very much could lead to a very big, important speech on the night. But yeah, I mean, there was like a $15 million check that was like released right in the middle of the damn voting. And so I think it could go to either one of those actually. And director Sean Wong for Nai and WIPO, he's got Didi coming out later this year, his feature film. So we will see most likely more of him in the next award season. But
they've been campaigning like crazy. They were just on the Kelly Clarkson show, I think on the last day of voting. They have been everywhere. So I think it's a close race between those three, between ABC, Nai, and Last Repair Shop. But I mean, yeah, to Sophia's point, people do like to feel good about the thing that they are voting for. And I mean, I wish I felt better about The Last Repair Shop. I don't think it's a very good film. It's incredibly unfocused, and it doesn't. I'm like, is this about these people? Is it about this shop? Because I felt like I knew very little about the shop, and but anyway, I don't think that's going to impede voters, though.
Yeah, Chris Bowers
needed more music. Honestly, that's what I wanted, more music throughout it.
For sure. Also, Chris Bowers being behind the film as well, and Ben Proudfoot. Like, I don't know. I think it's. I'm gonna go with The Last Repair Shop, but I reserve my right to be like Erik and change it at the last second to the ABCs of Book Banning. And so, okay, best live action short film: The After, Invincible, Night of Fortune, Red, White, and Blue, and the Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. All right. Listen, I know it's lazy, and maybe you guys can speak to maybe a potential other person that could win this category. I don't know. I just kind of think no one else is talking about the other four, and I think it's just going to go to Wes Anderson, and he's going to finally have an Oscar, and I think it's as simple as that. And he had this collection of short films that came out that Netflix has, showcased, and when Maestro and their other contenders started to fall apart, we saw more and more emails with Henry Sugar to a lot more voters, and I don't know. I kind of think it's just going to be the time for Wes Anderson to finally win an Oscar. Eric, what do you think?
Well, I mean, if we want to talk about topical films and stories, I think you need to actually go right to Red, White, and Blue.
Yeah.
About a woman that needs to cross state lines for an abortion. You're not going to really kind of grab onto the liberal side of the Academy really than that. Mm-hmm. And in traditional short film fashion, it has a bizarre, horrible twist ending, and mm-hmm. that I think can clinch it. I don't think Wes Anderson's path here is clear at all. I think his nomination was lucky to even get here.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
No. I'm not. No.
We rely a little too much on thinking that names get into the shorts.
No, for sure.
When so often they don't. You can ask Pedro Almodovar about that. So I'm actually probably gonna go with Red, White, and Blue.
Okay. Sophia?
Oh, you took my answer here. Thought I was gonna be the outlier. So a couple of things. The first thing about Henry Sugar really was that I partly thought of, the nomination for Wes Anderson is the hurdle. Like if he gets in, then maybe he can win because they're so resistant, right? Like Pedro Almodovar, of going with someone like that. But that short is very long, and we don't really know if they're necessarily going to feel anything from that. I do think it has a great title. I think the title is very fun. But when I saw Red, White, and Blue, so I saw the collection of shorts in theaters in Ohio with my family when I was visiting them. And Red, White, and Blue was the short that everyone was talking about afterwards. That was the one people liked the most. The twist, I think, threw everyone. And it has a better twist than something like The After, which I thought was insane. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened, honestly. But I'm going with Red, White, and Blue. I think it's topical. It's kind of the perfect length of a short as well. So
have you guys both seen it? Well, you've seen it, Sophia. Eric, have you seen it as well? No. And it's okay. Is it good, Sophia?
It's hard. I mean, it's hard to say.
I know that quality doesn't matter in this category because we had, what was that one where the Two Distant Strangers or whatever?
Two Distant Strangers. That was an abomination.
Yeah. That's why something like The After is so.
That's why
it's right there as well too. Yeah.
Yep.
That's also really short. It has David Oyelowo in it. Like
interviews up on the site.
I know. But I think Red, White, and Blue for me was one of the best shorts of the collection. If I'm looking at live action, documentary, and animated, of everything I watched, Red, White, and Blue is closer to the top. It also has Brittany Snow in it.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Is that a good thing?
I was gonna say.
I mostly mean it as a recognizable actor.
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Sophia. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it does kind of feel like, of the short categories, it does feel, as much as we just talked about documentary short being open, it does feel the most open because we don't have a lot of precursors, and also because this is so unpredictable. But that's kind of what's great about it. This is what makes or breaks your bracket every year, which is great. Okay, those are the shorts. we're going to move on to the main categories. So let's do Erik. Why don't you read off the nominees for Best Visual Effects?
I think this is going to be it's going to split a lot of people.
Yeah.
All right. Visual effects. Again, no particular order. Napoleon, the Creator, Godzilla -1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, based on the novel Push by Sapphire.
Erik, this is one of those tossed up categories that we've all been trying to figure out what the fuck is going to happen Oscar night. So where do you stand on Best Visual Effects?
So, I mean, I think this is between two things, and I'm sorry, but Godzilla -1 is not one of them. I think it's a pretty solid third place. And coming into this, it was wild because you can look at stats and history and where and why things are connected to other categories. Visual effects and production design, very, very closely connected, which is great for Napoleon. It's the only one here that has that. The Creator has this, and sound, another fantastic connection. It's the only one that has that. So it was always going to end up whatever the results of the Visual Effects Society were going to be. Now, obviously, I think the Creator was going to win the most, and it's the only one here that was nominated in the main category where it won. But Napoleon and Godzilla both had nominations in like supporting or like individual character creation stuff. Godzilla's single nomination for the creation of Godzilla lost to fucking Raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. So, ouch.
Ow.
And Napoleon.
Thanks a lot, Bradley Cooper.
Famously now. Yeah, I think that's the closest that Cooper's getting to Oscars.
I know. Okay. Yeah, you just no. Sophia's angry with us now.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's just the way that it goes. I'm used to it at this point.
It is. Disappointment is part of the game.
So that's
Disappointment Boulevard.
It's up to 13. Up to 13 now.
I can't even talk about it.
I'm sorry, Sophie.
It's okay. We'll get to actor later.
Yeah, she's like next year. She's like, well, Sophia's not here because of the comments we made on the 96 predictions episode.
Oh my god. No, but the deciding factor in this for me was Napoleon losing to Naiad. I did not see that coming. Even
was it for Taj Mahal?
I'm telling you.
I think it might have been, actually.
If you watch the VFX breakdown for Naiad, so much of it is so impressive. And they smartly steer away from that fucking shark.
Oh my god, the shark punch. The shark punch technology. Holy shit.
That they use like 2-3 times. Like
it was the same shot 2 or 3 times. Yeah.
The same shot.
Yeah.
It was very like Jaws 3D. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And then Taj Mahal, that whole sequence, Yellow Brick Road, that was like not in there. They focused on the things
they just ignored probably one of their biggest parts of their movie that they had to use CGI for.
Yeah,
smartly, I guess.
That's pretty smart.
The rest of it does look really good. It's really impressive. The amount of, I mean, she's swimming in the water, but the amount of created water around her, I had no idea. It was shocking. It was fantastic. I loved seeing it. So the win wasn't a crazy win, but it was crazy in context. Mm-hmm. So all that is going to me predicting the Creator over Napoleon here.
Okay. Sophia?
My heart wants me to go with Godzilla -1 because that is what I would vote for, of course. And I still have hope that it'll happen. But if I'm using my head, I'm going with the Creator. I also just feel like if you're looking at the ballot, like thinking as a voter, the Creator stands out in terms of visual effects, I think, compared to some of the other nominees. And it surprised us with that sound nomination coming through. So I think it does have a contingent of support in the Academy. So I'm going to go there. I can't in good I know the stat with production design that would favor Napoleon, but I just can't do it after Naiad.
Yeah, I agree. It's this. Maybe this is a not good for its win chances, but I'm going with the creator as well. So 3 for 3. Um, I never thought. I know that we had. I think it was Dan that was on here, or Josh. No, it was Josh that was on here talking with us about Napoleon after the BAFTA nominations and after the Oscar nominations, and potentially thinking that that is the film that could win this category, and it very much could. Like you're saying, Sophia, the production design nomination there is it was shocking on the morning, and it still is now. But yeah, and this is a tricky category because we don't have a Best Picture nominee or something that can default and win this category. Something like at BAFTAs, which was Poor Things, or when Oppenheimer was not even shortlisted, and everything. So, I'm going with the creator. Again, my heart is with Godzilla -1. I was kind of hoping that potentially, them getting in the room and taking those little Godzilla figurines everywhere and everybody holding them, and somebody like Steven Spielberg taking photos, like maybe that'll get around. Maybe it'll be a nice surprise. I know also Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 just won the Stunt Award at SAG, but I don't know how much that factors into any of this at all, if any. So that's probably just that film's consolation prize for the season. And the creator just did a ton of interviews, including some up on the site that we did recently as well, with a lot of outlets. So they were pushing that film, targeting specifically the visual effects down the stretch. So yeah, I'm going to go with the creator, 3 for 3 here. All right, Sophia, best sound. What are our nominees?
Okay, so for sound, we have the creator, Maestro, Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, and The Zone of Interest.
All right. Sophia, where are you going with this one?
I would love for The Zone of Interest to pull this off. I love that it won the BAFTA, but I have to go with the sound and editing combination that we tend to see, and what I think will be overwhelming support for Oppenheimer. So I'm going with Oppenheimer, but I would scream joyfully if The Zone of Interest won.
To be fair, I do think Oppenheimer's sound is a very good, it would be a very good win. I would love nothing more than The Zone of Interest to win this. I think The Zone of Interest, The Killer, and Oppenheimer had the best sound of any movies this year.
The Killer should be here.
The Killer should be here over the creator. It's fucking ridiculous.
If this was a split category, it would have gotten into sound editing. Guaranteed.
Yep, for sure. But that being said, I do agree with Sophia. I think that this is one of those where BAFTA thought it might have tricked us up a little bit, giving the win to Zone of Interest, and it still very much could go to Zone of Interest. It showcased really well here with the Academy, but overall, I think when you open it up to everybody, I think they will vote for Oppenheimer. That Trinity test and a lot of other sequences as well is a big component of why people love that film. Eric, are you in agreement? An Oppie win here as well?
Yeah, I am definitely in agreement that Oppenheimer can and will win here. And had the Zone of Interest gotten score and film editing, I think we could be looking at a proper upset.
Yeah.
And a deserved one too.
Yes.
But it should also be here for cinematography. I was just watching.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
An interview with Johnny Burns, the sound designer for Zone, talking about how cameras and mics were set up in every room of the house, and everything was shot with these hidden cameras and mics at the same time to create a true soundscape. So while like the boys are playing in the one room, the women are doing laundry in another at the same time. It's very like Robert Altman-y kind of like just perform and let's capture it without you knowing.
No, for sure.
Absolutely astonishing, stunning, and also that sort of like weird, removed, terrifying nature of the whole movie.
Yeah.
But I just don't think people are gonna be that invested to know that and then vote that way. I wish they would.
I wish they would too.
I think it's close.
It's one of those, when I talked to Christian Friedel, the lead actor of the film earlier this year, him talking about how they recorded his dialogue or his voiceover work when you hear him over the wall at times, and how that was still like they acted it all out and they performed all of this, and it's all about, that movie is all about the things you don't see and your imagination of what is happening over the wall, what's happening outside of each of these rooms. It's so intricate to the movie's overall success of how you experience that movie. And again, it's not to say that Oppenheimer's sound is not important to its movie, but I would prefer it to go to the Zone of Interest as well here too. But we're in 3 for 3 agreement as well. It's going to most likely go to Oppenheimer in a very close race, because a lot of people have been seeing the Zone of Interest over the last couple of weeks. It's done well in theaters and it's kind of surging on there. So we know it'll do well in at least one category that we'll talk about here in a little bit. All right. Best makeup and hairstyling. And the nominees are Golda, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and Society of the Snow. Okay. As much as I just want to make a joke and say it's going to go to Golda just for the optics of it all, and think that Poor Things has a really good shot here as well, overall. And again, the threat of Oppenheimer. Not that I think it's going to win, but it's in third, because I think that of the potential downvoting, it could take an effect. But I'm going to stick with Maestro. I think it's the traditional winner of that we've seen over the last decade in this category, of seeing an actor, the photo a year before, the transformation. Netflix got the transformation videos out over the last couple of weeks and really started in the last stretch here to promote Kazu's work, as well as Bradley's transformation and Carrie's transformation over various, not just social media platforms, but email blasts as well. So I think that it's gonna just go to Maestro, but I think Poor Things is right there. It's very, very close. So Erik, how do you see it playing out?
I don't think it's that close, actually.
Oh, you don't?
No, even with Poor Things BAFTA win, I don't know. There's a lot of BAFTA wins that feel very easy to ignore this year, as they kind of can be over the last couple of years.
Okay.
This feels not like an easy win for Maestro, but kind of an easy win. Yeah, I mean it has the special effects makeup win and period character makeup win from the Makeup and Hairstyling Guild, both over Poor Things. That's an incredibly good combination, but the overriding factor for me is that this is main character makeup, and that is not the case for Poor Things. And we just have way too many examples, obviously, of this category being attached to an lead acting winner. And even though that's potentially happening in one category versus another with these two films, it's not Emma Stone. It's Willem Dafoe's makeup. And then we've seen like Bombshell, or Vice be able to win here because of the main character makeup and not anyone else's. So I feel like it's kind of easy for Maestro to win this.
Mm-hmm. Sophia?
I am in total agreement. I think this is a pretty easy one for Maestro, because when you think of Maestro, you think of the makeup. Like it is the center really of that movie, whether you like it or not. And I mean, I just think back to last year. I mean, yes, like Brendan Fraser won actor as well, but when I think of that makeup, it's like that is what you think of when you think of the whale. And that's not what you think of when you think of Elvis, for instance, necessarily, right? So yeah, I'm going with Maestro.
Okay.
Did one of you say this on the last pod? But if the presenter says buy a nose,
That's
that would be a
Erik.
moment.
That was
Yeah.
Erik.
Yeah.
That
I thought it was
Erik.
one of you.
That can go for 2 different films here. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you look for Golda?
Can't believe I watched that.
Is it the worst film though of because I know you didn't like Society of the Snow either. Did you not like that either?
I didn't like Society of the Snow, but that was way better than Golda.
Okay.
Society of the Snow I felt was like a wannabe Terrence Malick movie. Golda is unwatchable.
Golda's like
they're different.
I thought like Golda wasn't like even able to qualify because I saw him with like a Fathom Events sort of thing, and then to find out that I got into the that's literally that's how I saw it.
Event.
Yeah, it was like a Fathom event screening. It was like a one night only when it came out over here. So I don't know.
I cannot fathom that this movie is real.
There you go. All right, Erik, costume design. Up for you. Read the nominees.
All right. Let's go costume design. I was just working on that one today because I don't know what to do.
Well, you're gonna figure it out now.
I don't know. All right, we have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Poor Things, and Oppenheimer. This category is tough. It's really, really tough.
Is it tough?
It's tough. Did I say that? Yeah.
I don't know if you did or you didn't.
It's like beef jerky tough. And that's really because we're looking at arguably 2 films, Barbie or Poor Things, with maybe again, if there's any type of crazy sweeping, Oppenheimer could sneak in here, but I don't think that's happening. So it's really between one of those 2. Poor Things has BAFTA. It has Costume Designers Guild, but Barbie has Costume Designers Guild because they competed in different categories. The inconsistency this year between how these guilds, Production Design, the Art Directors Guild and Costume Designers Guild, and others have categorized Barbie and Poor Things has been really frustrating because sometimes they compete in fantasy, sometimes Poor Things is in period. Frustrating. So Barbie has Costume Designers Guild, Critics' Choice, and Poor Things has BAFTA and Costume Designers Guild, which is really solid. They're both really solid. I think this might be again one of those situations, sort of the opposite of makeup, where the costume design focus is really a central character. You'll never be able to tell me that anybody else's outfits in Poor Things really kind of they looked like other than Bella Baxter. And they're beautiful and massive and very vibrant. But Barbie is really half of Barbie is the creation of outfits and dressing up your Barbies. It's the whole, it's what it's all about. I think something that is a disadvantage to Barbie is that when she's out of Barbie land, everything's contemporary and you're looking at really nothing but contemporary clothes outside of Barbie and Ken running around in their little wacky outfits. So I think it can sort of deceive a viewer, and they hate voting for contemporary costumes in this category. They never do it, and I think that could be a big disadvantage. Yeah. So I'm not really sure where I'm leaning yet.
You have to pick one.
I know I do.
It's a predictions episode. Do not be on the fence. You must make a pick.
There's so many times when this and production design just go hand in hand. It would be so easy for either of them to do this.
Could split easily too.
I am going to say Barbie though.
Okay. Sophia?
I'm going with Poor Things. As I think that Barbie would be a great winner, and I think prefer the use of the costumes in that movie. Like I love the archival pieces and thinking back, like that's so important for people to connect with that movie because like you said, Eric, you think about dressing up your doll, and I know how much research went into that, but I think about this group and how they love petticoats and period costumes and ruffles and frills. And if they've, I think, one, they like Poor Things more as a movie than Barbie. But
Yep.
also, if anyone has heard Holly Waddington talk about the costumes or has read my interview with her, they know that like a lot of thought went into the period look for Bella and putting together certain ensembles and how that really affected the character and the character illustration. So, yeah, I think the strength of Poor Things will prevail here as well as that, they like to lean into the period. So I'm gonna go with that one. But it's tough. It's really tough.
Oh yeah, I'm probably gonna actually be different in my written. I just can't make up my mind right now because Barbie could just end up with one win and that's the end of
Yeah.
it for it.
It's weird to think about how few films potentially I have on my list winning multiple Oscars.
I mean, as opposed to last year where there were some films that didn't even win one of the
No,
best
I know,
picture
but
lineup,
it could be, I mean, like it could be a similar list for me this year where I have two films winning
Everything?
several and most of them. We'll get there. We can talk about it later.
We'll talk
But,
about it.
yeah.
I don't think it. I think there'll be more films that of the best picture lineup that'll win Oscars this year than last year.
Yeah.
There were a lot last year that walked away without anything. I mean, for
It
God's
was a
sakes,
shame.
remember when Elvis didn't win anything and it was winning a shit ton? Like
I
you were
felt
like,
bad for
holy
the
crap.
Elvis fans.
That was
It was-
wild. Yeah. In upon retrospect,
After all the BAFTA wins too.
yeah, and then and Banshees too. Like holy shit.
Mhm. My beloved Tar.
Yeah, and Fablemans. There's a lot. Anyway, back to this year. We don't need to go back to last year. At least no. This is tough. I've been thinking about it back and forth. I think back to a conversation with Eric that we had like months ago where we were talking about Barbie and it winning this award, and I was a little skeptical about it getting in because of those modern costumes. And yeah, this branch just really doesn't like modern costumes at all. I mean, a movie like Saltburn should definitely be in this lineup, and it's ridiculous that it's not.
Would love that.
But yeah, I'm just worried about when you go, Eric, as you're mentioning, go into the real world, the Will Ferrell of it all, and spending a lot of time in the Kia commercial, in the chase scene and stuff like that. I wonder if that will be negative, but then I also think about if you love Ryan Gosling and you love the Kins and you love that world, the fur coat, the throwing of her clothes out of the Barbie dream house, actually it would be the Mojo Dojo Casa house at that point, then that's such a funny gag, and it involves the costumes of that movie so much. But then, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going way ahead. Holly Waddington's. See, I'm looking at all these Poor Things like left down the line on my list here. Yeah, you have like the condom outfit that Sophia mentioned in her piece, which is so great, and then you have
it's really cool.
just all the different looks that Bella has, but then all the different outfits that Ruffalo and all the different locations that they go to, that sort of then add up. So I'm mostly just saying all this to stall because I don't have a fucking winner yet. I'm going to lean slightly towards Poor Things in this category. But that does not mean that I could change this like literally tomorrow. I think you can change all the way up until about an hour before the telecast, if you wanted to. No shade at that, but if you're doing it like 30 minutes before, like calm down. At least let your pick settle in for an hour. But I'm gonna lean towards Poor Things just slightly for this category. So, all right, Sophia, we'll go over to production design.
Okay. For production design, we have Barbie, Killers of the Flower Moon, Napoleon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. While I would love for Jack Fisk to finally win his Oscar, I think we're taking a trip to the Cheesecake Factory, and Poor Things will be our winner.
Okay. I'm just gonna skip.
I'm being shady there. It's mostly just in reference to Ari Aster telling that to Yorgos Lanthimos, and they had their little interview together. But I think people are just really dazzled by the worlds of Poor Things, and they're central really to this story as she moves through these wacky, strange worlds that are, tied to different locations. So it also, I think, works nicely with the cinematography and how vibrant those color sequences are. So I will be going with Poor Things, and it's just been performing well all season.
Erik?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is a case where we have some interesting results from the guilds that come ahead of this, where Poor Things has Art Directors Guild, has BAFTA, it has the Set Decorators Society, who also inexplicably gives just a Best Picture winner out. Just there's no nominees. It just is like, here's the Best Picture, and Poor Things got that. And Barbie does have Set Decorators and Critics' Choice here. But yeah, Searchlight has pulled out the stops for Poor Things. They did have a fantastic costume installation in Los Angeles I went to. Absolutely gorgeous. I just went to a Poor Things Blu-ray release party last week, which was unrelated specifically to a category, but it had models of the boat and elements throughout this party. So it's really going in, and I'd be hard pressed to see it lose, even though earlier in the year Barbie seemed like the easiest call here for how extravagant and huge Barbie Land is and all of the interstitials of them traveling. It would be an incredibly deserved win here. I think it still could, but these two categories are really more up in the air than I would have thought, because it could go so many ways, or it could be just real simple and Poor Things is winning both and we move on.
You're also forgetting the other factor in the room too, which was it at the Set Decorators or was it at the
we don't need to be reminded.
What? Be reminded of what?
My Jack Fisk losing at ADG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big deal because Ruth DeJong, his protege, won for Oppenheimer, and that is something to consider as well too, especially for, as we're mentioning it for other categories. Not an undeserved win as well there either. And yes, Jack Fisk, who built that damn train station and blew up that house and all that stuff, and was a lovely table guest at CCA, if I don't mind saying so, will go home empty-handed again, which is a real damn shame, because production design in Killers of the Flower Moon, pretty much like the production design, take out Napoleon, production design in all of the other four films is fantastic. And
Napoleon.
fuck that movie. I'm sorry, it's just so stupid that is in here.
It would be better than last year's winner here, though, I think.
Yeah, I just don't understand how, man. Maestro, what the fuck? Anyway, that's an autopsy for somebody else to figure out down the road. I think that it will go to Poor Things. I would not be surprised if it went to Barbie. And I kind of honestly think it should go to Barbie. It created Barbie Land, is this one of the most iconic settings in all of cinema in 2023. And it's all just exquisitely done. If you watch any behind the scenes, and it's not just Barbie Land too, the transition from the real world to Barbie Land as well is pretty great, or like the
It's wonderful. It's like Wes
I love
Anderson
it.
animation.
yeah,
It's beautiful.
it's then also you have, I mean, obviously the Mattel building itself, but then you have the scenes with Ruth and in her little house as well too, and how that's all put together. It's
Mhm.
yeah, it's wonderful stuff. And yeah, Poor Things is aided, I think, a lot by CGI in its efforts, but it's still really well put together. It's more traditionally put together, I would say.
There
And
are
then,
some wonderful behind the scenes shots though of Poor Things, of the actual sets. So you have like a full stand back to see where the sets end,
yeah,
and they're pretty fabulous. They're
yeah,
not as big as Killers or Barbie by any means,
or Oppenheimer,
but they
yeah.
but over Oppenheimer, which I actually have in second place over Barbie.
You do? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it could happen,
It could
honestly.
happen.
Like there's a world where that's kind of likely.
Yeah.
I don't we do often or sometimes talk about how much a great speech can impact people, and I know the Art Directors Guild is not a show that is televised, it's streamed, but if anyone saw Ruth DeJong's uh speech, it is one of the best of the season. It was absolutely beautiful. I was like tearing up. She was one very surprised, but spent so much of it focused on Jack Fisk. It was, if you can find it, watch it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. They have a really great relationship. I mean, it literally one of her first films ever was working with him on There Will Be Blood. And that movie's inspiration is clearly seen throughout Oppenheimer in this work, kind of going back to that similar sort of area and setting. And yeah, I mean, I would love for her to win that. I would love for her to be Sarah Greenberg or Sarah Greenwood as well. I just think
7 nominations for those two, and
yeah,
they have not won.
I think it's just going to end up going to the.
It should win.
It should.
It really should
Both.
win.
I mean, honestly, if there was going to be two movies that dominated the Oscars, it should be Oppenheimer and Barbie. They dominated the entire year of cinema. They have every right to do so. Poor Things. Sorry, not so much. All right. Speaking of Barbie, let's go Best Original Song. So the nominees for Best Original Song are The Fire Inside of Me to get me my 900th nomination. Diane Warren's nomination for Flamin' Hot. I'm Just Kin for Barbie. It Never Went Away from American Symphony. I'm going to go A Song for My People because I'm not going to try to butcher that and get caught. For Killers of the Flower Moon. And What Was I Made For? Oh, I'm sorry. What Was I Made For? For Barbie. This is clearly going to go to Billie Eilish and her brother Phineas, who are going to carry over their wins from the Grammys all the way over to winning her second Oscar in 3 years, which is insane, but very much deserved win there. Erik, I assume you agree. Sophia, I assume you agree as well. Both of you guys agree.
Yeah, I did my original song piece on the 20th because I felt strong enough about it, and everything had been announced. The Society of Composers and Lyricists, Hollywood Music and Media, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, and unrelated, but yes, the Grammys too. It's still
Song of the Year.
Yeah, she is hugely popular.
Mhm.
She will be the youngest two-time Oscar winner in history when she gets this, because she is just 22 years old. And we did just get the announcement this morning that everybody is performing.
Yes.
All the songs are going to be performed and by the people that sing them in the movie, and yay for that. So that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Even though I'm Just Ken only won Critics' Choice, who went cuckoo for Barbie because and that song also won the most critics groups that gave out songs, because not a whole lot do, but I think it was like 6 or 7, and it just dominated there is a scenario in which it wins in the most like gut-punchingly ironic way, which would tell the tale of this movie and its relationship with the Academy Award nominations this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, I won't be shocked.
All right, Sophia, it's just Billy.
Yeah,
right?
I have What Was I Made For, but I do have I'm Just Ken in second. Just anticipating that because What Was I Made For, it's dominant, but it's a little sleepy. And I'm Just Ken is fun and it's in a great part in the movie too. So I don't know. I could see it happening in a way, but I'm not brave enough or maybe silly enough to predict it.
I'm just going to say this right now. I think we gave this way more air than we needed to. I think that this is one of the easiest wins on the night. I think that she has been performing this song in front of luncheons and gatherings and celebrations for the last 3 goddamn months. It won Song of the Year at the Grammys, and she performed it there too as well. I will say this though, I do not think it will be actually the most moving performance on the night. I do think A Song for My People will be the moment that most of us will be talking about. Get ready for your find Chris Pine in the audience because he will be shedding a tear. And I do
What
think
about Anne Hathaway?
Oh, like how she did for Barbara Streisand at Sex.
Gonna be
my
sobbing.
God, like that was giving Leah Michele in the best way possible, right? It was like
Leah Michele wishes.
But it will be great to see Gosling go and perform, hopefully with the other Kins from the films, or at least an assembly of Kins. I'm Just Ken, probably to kick off the show, and then Flamin' Hot and American Symphony. Those will just be like things that we can use to transition into the commercials. You know what I mean? 2 movies that will not exist past this Oscar night, because Lord knows that they don't already. So, all right, best original song out of the way. Erik, best original score. Let's just read the nominees, Erik, if you don't mind.
All right. For best original score, we have, again, not in any particular order, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, American Fiction, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Erik's favorite nomination on the day.
So
you and I were talking about this literally the other day on the phone, just how much we hate this fucking nomination so much. And I love John Williams, but God damn it, it's the worst nomination. I'm just gonna do the old-fashioned thing I've always done in categories like this. Does anybody have anything outside of Ludwig Göransson for Oppenheimer?
No.
Okay. Congratulations, Ludwig Göransson. You will be winning your second Oscar in, 6 years?
Undeserved.
No.
The first one.
The first one. I was going to say, yes, correct on the first one.
He should not be a 2-time winner.
That's Nicholas Bertel's Oscar for A Bill Street Could Talk.
Robbie Robertson died for nothing.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Erik!
It's a great score. I love his score for Killers.
Oh, it's
my pick here. It should be winning.
It's fantastic. And
it's so good. Oh,
I can't pick between those two. Those are immaculate scores. But
I also love Poor Things.
The other 3 can get the hell out of this category. I'm sorry.
No way. I think Poor Things is fabulous.
Where's Saltburn?
Where's Past Lives? Where's Spider-Verse? Where's
The Zone of Interest?
Zone of Interest
should be. Literally anything should be here other than.
Where's The Boy and the Heron?
Fiction and Destiny.
Just beautiful.
I do love how Laura Cartman wears 2 pairs of glasses at all times.
I do like her. I think she's
kooky.
She's
fun
fun
lady.
Yeah.
I like her a lot.
Wish that movie was a little bit more kooky. To be fair. Sophia, best film editing.
Best film editing. We have Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I'm going to do your age-old standby. Does anyone have anything other than Oppenheimer?
I'm
Nope.
going with The Holdovers, and here's why.
Okay, indie spirits. Why don't you shut the fuck up? Good God. No. Jennifer Lame, congratulations on winning her first Oscar. Interview up on the site with her own Griffin Schiller. Same with Ludwig Göransson. Interview up on the site. Go ahead and read that. All right.
She's a fantastic artist, and I think it's going to be a wonderful win.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be a great speech. She's great. She's a great interview too. All right, best cinematography. El Conde, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, and Poor Things. I'm gonna take the volley back from you, Sophia, if that's okay.
That's
and
fine.
Go, does anybody have anyone other than Hoyte van Hoytema winning for fucking Oppenheimer?
Absolutely not.
Maybe the other easiest win on the night. Easy,
So
not
easy.
even close. Well deserved.
No, it should be Maestro.
I love
Sorry.
Prieto for
No.
Killers.
My pick would be Maestro.
I'm all for Hoyte winning
Maestro
this.
is fun.
Maestro is great. Pareto as well for
Saltburn should be
Killers.
here as well.
Saltburn should definitely be here.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. What the fuck? I love Ed Lockman to death, but you're sticking out like a sore thumb here, buddy. Like,
Going with the ASC 5 was so shocking because they
Yeah.
just don't do it.
I would also lobby May December in here as well too. That's what I would lobby in here. But yeah, Hoyte, first win. I'm really excited about it. I think he's one of the best we have in the
Funny
world
guy,
right now doing it.
really, really sweet. I was so happy to have met him this last week. Very, very awesome guy.
Very much so. Okay. Erik, best documentary feature film. Can you read the nominees?
Okay. We have 20 Days in Mariupol, The Eternal Memory, Bobby Wine, The People's President, Four Daughters, and To Kill a Tiger.
Yep. Okay. Erik?
20 Days in Mariupol should be a pretty easy win here, even though it lost the BAFTA to a non-nominated, or not BAFTA, the PGA, to American Symphony. That was interesting. But it's, if you're gonna lose to non-competition at the Oscars, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
I feel pretty straightforward about that.
Okay. Sophia, I'm assuming you picked 20 Days in Mariupol like I did. Do you potentially, though, with that PGA loss that happened this past week, do you see anything of these other four that could potentially upset? I mean, it's the only reason why we didn't do the golden rule here of moving on, because I do think that was a little bit of a hit.
Yeah.
You know what
I mean, I would put Bobby Wine in second, I think, if I was going for a spoiler, but I will say, like, To Kill a Tiger was my favorite of the group, and it is surprising, and I feel like most people I've talked to have really liked it if they watch it. So, but the big thing is, like, if they watch it, because it was that surprise that came through. 20 Days of Mariupol, though, incredibly topical.
Yeah.
And it's very hard hitting. It just fits with what they would go with here, I think.
Yeah. Just doesn't feel like a movie that they would not want to not award. I do agree.
And I don't have a good enough reason to go with anything else.
I don't either, other than like Bobby Wine, The People's President. What a fucking great name for a documentary. But yeah, it's 20 Days in Mariupol.
People really love The Eternal Memory, though. Really, really love it. I think it might even be 2. I don't know. Bobby Wine or it is 2 or 3, but again, I think the space
it's too distant.
1 and 2 is.
It was just a weird
enough to not matter.
It was just a weird loss, but if American Symphony had made its way in here, we would have had probably a little bit more of an interesting conversation. But
yeah, 20 Days is the only PGA nominee here.
Yeah, it's fucking wild. All right, Sophia, just read off the list of international features for me, please.
Yeah, for international feature, we have Io Capitano, Perfect Days, Society of the Snow, The Teacher's Lounge, and The Zone of Interest. Do we all have The Zone of Interest?
Yes, I don't think that
everyone should be thankful that Anatomy of a Fall is not here.
Yeah.
Yes, but also shame on the French for not picking Anatomy of a Fall, which this past weekend just won a crap ton of César awards, and continues to show that it was the movie you should have picked. But Justine Triet, I mean, she's laughing all the way to Oscar nominations and maybe a win. We'll talk about that here in a little bit.
Can't wait to see her suit that she wears to the Oscars.
Her and Sandra, just their looks. Yeah. I cannot wait to see those.
Love it.
But yes, Jonathan Glazer's film, The Zone of Interest. Though I will say, Perfect Days was starting. I'm not saying that it's going to win, but there was a lot of campaigning over the last 2 weeks. Lot of ad buying, a lot of interviews with them, a lot of Q&As. But obviously, it's The Zone of Interest. I mean, you don't go against the movie that was nominated in Best Picture in this category nowadays. So, okay, moving on. Best Animated Feature: The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This was a lot closer last week. Yeah. And I really fucking wish that the PGA had gone with The Boy and the Heron. And the Oscars could very much go with that too. But I do think that as of right now, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which is a very good film too, will end up winning this Oscar. But man, I really want The Boy and the Heron to win. It's one of my top 5 films of the year. That's where I would personally go myself, but we're predicting what will win, not what we want to win. So Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is my pick. Eric, are you in the same boat?
Yeah, I mean, I did my short write-up of this because even though I think it's still pretty competitive between the two. I mean, the PGA went for Spider-Man, not a surprise. It's
the BAFTA win.
It's a massive film. But they were volleying back and forth. Boy and the Heron has BAFTA and Golden Globe, and Spider-Man has the Annie and PGA and Critics' Choice. Again, this is a situation where both of these combinations have worked in the past for other films. So only one of them, that combination, is going to work this time, just like with, production design and stuff like that. And I think since this category has only been around since 2001, we are going to finally start to see sequels able to win, because up to this point, only Toy Story 3 and Toy Story 4 had won as sequels, but that's because the category didn't exist when Toy Story was out, which clearly would have won. So Spider-Man winning will be the first film whose first film and immediate sequel have won.
Yeah.
But okay. I'm not counting Boy and the Heron out for a little bit of passion. I wish there had been a little more outside of this, but there wasn't for Spider-Man either.
Yeah, I wish there was a little bit. It felt like more of a push, more of a campaign for Boy and the Heron, but it's done so well for itself up to this point. Yeah, I just also too, if like either one of them had got into score, also it would have made it maybe a little bit easier as well too, to pick the other. But Sophia, are you Spider-Verse right now?
I am Spider-Verse. I really would love to be the Boy and the Heron right now. I think that would be an amazing upset, but I think I want to right now go with the smart prediction, which is Spider-Verse. I think just based on how it's performed this season. And I agree with you. I was just thinking the same thing about score. Like if Joe Hisaishi would have gotten in for The Boy and the Heron, I would have, I think, thought about it a little bit more, but
or if Daniel Pemberton gets in for Spider-Verse, it's kind of over at that point. They did a whole concert, much like Ludwig Göransson did for Oppenheimer. They did a whole at the Academy Museum concert for the score of Spider-Verse during the phase 1 and everything, and then it just it didn't pan out, and he was everywhere too.
The other thing too is that there were rumors that this was going to be Miyazaki's last film, and then as we found out at the Toronto Film Festival, it's not going to be his last film. So the impetus to feel that he had to be rewarded, even though he won for Spirited Away, was gone. So that element of a narrative disappeared.
True.
In September.
Yeah, and then you balance that out also on the other side, where it's like, do we need to award Spider-Man again after
a
we just
film?
A middle film,
a middle sequel?
Yeah. Do we need to do it 3 times because you damn well know they're going to probably do it a 3rd time? So yeah, it's very interesting. You know, can't wait for Across the Spider or the 3rd Spider-Man movie to go up against Toy Story and us lose our fucking minds when Toy Story 5 goes up against it. That'll be really fun in a couple of years. Okay. We're above the line now. We're in the thick of it.
Here we go.
Here we go. Erik, best original screenplay, please.
Okay. We have, this is a really good lineup. Past Lives, The Holdovers, Anatomy of a Fall, Maestro, and May December. So as we know, this category and the next were turned a little bit upside down with Barbie being pushed out and into adapted. It was nominated or won everywhere else here in original. But it's not a factor here. I am this is
kind of tough. It's a little tough.
The movies are so good too.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tough, but this is such a perfect place to reward Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah.
In a very classic screenplay type of win. And you know, we might be talking about that in the next category too, in certain terms. But I think there was a time when The Holdovers seemed like a pretty easy win here, and then kind of nothing really has happened with it.
No urgency for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it's got its 5 nominations in that neat little, you know, film editing one, but it's just kind of missing some components, and it's already got one locked in win.
Do you think, Erik, do you mind if I ask you, do you think the factor of not having Payne attached as a screenwriter might also have weakened its chances, maybe potentially as well too? Like,
no, because The Descendants wasn't his either.
No, that's true. No, that's true. But there is a lot of love.
I don't think so.
There is a lot of love for this movie as well too, and then it would have maybe been a place for him.
And there's a lot for Past Lives too.
Yes.
And you know, I think a lot of people were unhappy about the Maestro nomination here, and
they can get over it.
Will drink their bitter tears. I don't really care. I think it's a great nomination. But you know, obviously I love May December being here.
I love it too.
Absolutely genius screenplay structure. It was my if we could pick the Oscars pick. I think it is, and especially for a first screenplay, so difficult and challenging and risky, and that it was as successful as it was is just shocking to me. But I think Anatomy of a Fall is a gorgeously constructed screenplay too, and certainly more dialogue driven between court scenes and obviously their fight in the kitchen, which
it's like the scene of the year.
That's, I mean, like if that scene isn't in like theater classes, I don't even know.
We're gonna see like discount Anatomy of a Fall, like, you know, but it's a 17-year-old reading.
Like, you know, here's the monologue I'm doing to audition for.
I'm doing Sandra Hüller from Anatomy of a
Marriage
Fall.
Story, thankfully.
Theater camp.
Exactly, like
totally.
punch in the wall.
Totally. So I think it's winning. It's been working its way there, and it's a perfect place for it to win.
Sophia?
I also have Anatomy of a Fall. I think, this is a really strong lineup, like we've said. But I think this is just the perfect place to reward that film. It's been winning this season. I think it just, for me, is like the no-brainer pick here, even though I would vote for May, December.
I agree with everything that Sophia just said. I think that when it won the Golden Globe, we were all kind of on high alert. And the Golden Globe is not a split; it is a combined screenplay category. That night, also, as Erik, you pointed out when we talked about international, its overall dominance in the international categories through critics and other guild groups has been pretty substantial, even against something like The Zone of Interest. And I do think its nomination haul here was strong, and enough here to show that it is very well liked, and it's got the palm behind it as well too, and which proves its popularity. And then the other thing is, I can't get out of my head that when we were all at festivals this year, it was the hot ticket in town for every festival we went to. It was the conversation piece they were all talking about. I can't also understate enough how much I love Celine Song's screenplay for Past Lives. I know she just came off of winning a boatload of awards over at the Indie Spirits. As like,
but not screenplay.
What ended up winning that one? Was it?
We'll talk about that in a minute.
We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. That's right. Oh shit, that's right. Anyway, but I would love to see an upset there, because that's realistically the person that could upset. I mean, honestly, if I would be like Erik and Sophia, like May December is a goddamn masterpiece and should have been nominated for more than just a screenplay. But yeah, I think it'll be Anatomy of a Fall, and I think it'll be a hilarious speech to see that married couple up on that stage, baby. All right.
I have a question though.
Yes.
If Anatomy of a Fall was in international feature film, do you think that its path in this category would be as good as it is, or are we sort of looking at it like we were talking about and kind of talking around, that this is the place to reward it, or would it have just gotten both?
I think it would have just gotten both, to be fair, because we haven't. Not to speak for Sophia, but for myself, The Holdovers hasn't won shit, and Past Lives. I mean, maybe there could have been the argument of like, okay, this is like the chance then for like A24 to mount the campaign enough to push Past Lives or to get her out there, but I don't know, and definitely wasn't going to be Maestro or May December. I don't know. I mean, A24 seemingly decided to not push one of the best reviewed films of the year in this category at the last second and have her at a bunch of places and do a bunch of Q&As and a lot of stuff. And it seemed like there was a second wave for both Justine and Sandra Hüller to have conversations and more interviews and stuff. And I don't know.
Though. I mean, Celine Song was at a whole bunch of events during.
Events are different than like, I don't know. It just didn't seem as if there was the sense of that she was. I mean, obviously she's at these nominated places, but Q&As or more interviews or more videos or more conversations and talking about the film, it felt like Anatomy of a Fall struck while the iron was hot, and it would have led to. It would have led, I think, to 2 wins rather than potentially just one. But Sophia, maybe I'm wrong. Sophia, do you agree?
I completely agree. I feel like also with Neon behind it, I mean, I think like the strength of the movie really would just continue. Like we would just see it winning. It's interesting though, because the A24, I mean, The Zone of Interest was their big one, really. Like Past Lives, just kind of the fact that we really are only talking about it in original screenplay and picture when it started, I think, in the way that it did is crazy. But yeah, I think Anatomy of a Fall would still be winning.
Lucked into it a little bit as well, too, which, I mean, great luck because it's a fantastic film. But I mean, there's a bunch of people that wouldn't even say that. I mean, there's a bunch of people out there online that say like The Iron Claw is the movie that they should have pushed all the way through and all that stuff. So, but it was Neon's movie Anatomy of a Fall from the entire way. There was no other film, and they had Origin and Ferrari and a bunch of other shit, and they were like, we don't give a fuck how much we bought those movies for. This is the movie because they've won a Best Picture as much as A24 has, and they've had, I think, better success overall as an awards team. But anyway, all right, let's go to adapted screenplay. Sophia, Ciminello, read our nominees.
Okay, our nominees are American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest.
Okay.
Every year, there's one where I just go with a feeling that I have, and I could really change this. I could at the last minute. And I think that conventional wisdom suggests American Fiction here. It winning the BAFTA, being its only nomination. Like, I get that. But right now, I'm going with Oppenheimer. I feel this kind of like, I just think it's going to get swept up in the love for the movie. And it reminds me of Argo a little bit when that one adapted screenplay. And I know that American Fiction did well with nominations too. I don't really have like a logical explanation for this. This is just one of those that I have a feeling about. And at this moment, I'm going with Oppenheimer. Tell me I'm wrong. I probably am.
Eric, you want to go or do I want to go? You want me to go?
Go ahead.
Okie dokie. I haven't done a No Guts, No Glory pick yet. I haven't done one of those. I almost thought about saving it. I always do one.
Yeah.
They usually don't work out. And I thought about using it in this category, and I think I'm right. This is real tough because, like Eric, you mentioned, the Barbie of it all is interesting because we have not seen these films go up against one another in this specific category. These movies, Poor Things, Zone of Interest, American Fiction, and Oppenheimer, have gone up against one another a couple of times. Rather be, though, at the majority of those times it's gone up against one another, it's outside of just BAFTA, it has not been with most industry things. But Barbie coming in here is a interesting wrinkle this late into the season. And I understand that Cord Jefferson just won the BAFTA. And I understand that there is a lot of love out there for Poor Things and Zone of Interest. But I think that this is going to come down to Barbie and Oppenheimer again. And I think that while there is a lot of love to right the wrong, like Eric was talking about earlier, from a lot of people's vantage point of Greta Gerwig snubs and in director, and Margot Robbie snub and lead actress, I ultimately, and this is not a No Guts, No Glory because it's just honest pick, I agree with Sophia. I think that it would feel weird as a package that director, actors, picture, score, sound, cinematography, and all that, and the movie that's one of the better screenplays that Nolan's written by most people's estimation, and a hefty one, and also very writer friendly with that first person's perspective and everything, and is a movie essentially about people talking in rooms for 3 hours long, doesn't win best adapted screenplay from a very well respected novel too. I'm going to nonfiction. Nonfiction novel. I am going to go with Oppenheimer. It does not necessarily have to win this category, but neither did Parasite and neither did Everything Everywhere All at Once. And we were all trying last year to see about, well, maybe that'll be for Banshees, or maybe Tarantino will win it for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And then, Bong or Mendes can get director, or the Daniels have directors sewn up, and that's where they can win and we can split the vote. I don't think they're splitting votes. I just think that they like what they like. And this is the movie of the season, and I'm going with Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer. And it's gonna it's weird to say that he'll win a screenplay category, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to happen. Erik, tell us how we're wrong.
I think this is a really tough category.
It is.
It's extremely competitive because
Mhm.
the arguments for 3 films are very strong. Oppenheimer winning here as a part of its
Package.
load is going, makes a lot of sense.
You
It
nasty.
makes a lot of sense. But also, by the way, Everything Everywhere did win. So
Yeah, no. I'm that's what I'm saying is that we were trying to.
I thought I heard that.
No.
Okay.
It won. It didn't. But a lot of us were still being like, it doesn't necessarily need to win that. It could be for Banshees or something else. And they were just like, nope, it's going to win that too. You know, it was part of its package.
But so there's a logic to it that just makes a lot of sense. It also hasn't won anything as a screenplay. It's been pretty unsuccessful there. Then you have Barbie, and this being the only chance to reward Greta Gerwig. She's not a producer on the film, and she's not nominated for director. And the creation of the screenplay from a doll is a pretty great creation. And we're talking about monologues and people in rooms talking. It has the monologue of the year from America Ferrera, who got in from that scene. That's kind of big. There's no way to dismiss that. And I think it is a high key competitor, regardless of which category it had been in. But I am going with American Fiction. And I was leaning there already, even before BAFTA, but the BAFTA win is so strange and so nonsensical as a sole nomination for a film they obviously did not care about. But a screenplay about a writer, and especially one that is going to make white people feel good because they can laugh at themselves for being so stupid in this movie. I don't know how you can really pass that by, because there are certain things, regardless of how many new members that the Academy brings on, that don't seem to change that much.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. This is a year, I think, like, and unrelated, where like Call Me by Your Name and Get Out won, and nothing else. This is a year where the screenplays, I feel, are going to be win only in there and nowhere else. But I don't know if that's a spoiler for later, but maybe it is, clearly. But yeah, it just won the Spirit. Crazy win.
Well, that whole ceremony was, those acting winners are bullshit.
There's a lot of nonsense that happened that day.
Jeffrey Wright, give me a break.
And it won Critics' Choice too. Its sole win there. So the desire to zero in on a win for this film has been made, and it is this category.
Yeah,
that's probably right. I mean, like, I could still change it. It's just like a
fuck it. I'm gonna change it. I'm going on American Fiction.
That is the
it's
right.
Just the right.
I really think those 3 are. I think it could be any of them.
Honestly, I want Greta to win this.
Me too.
Okay. Greta and Noah Baumbach. Can't forget that. That it's both of them winning for this. One, the idea of two couples. The idea of 2 couples winning the screenplays categories would be fucking wonderful. Also, the idea of 2 of like Noah Baumbach jumping on the coattails of Barbie because like she just said it in a meeting that he would write it, and then he had to he spent like 3 months trying to get out of it, and then it ended up winning him an Oscar would be funny. That would be like a great trivia question down the road for somebody at like a pub. But then also too, I mean, yeah, it's a better screenplay than American Fiction, and it's a great place to reward Barbie and also make everybody happy. And but it's also just not won any of those. That's the other thing. It's like the times in which Barbie has been on telecasts to accept awards or to promote things has either been the made up award at the Golden Globes for the cinema achievement thing, the Chelsea Handler thing, then for SAG Ensemble, which it ended up losing to Oppenheimer at SAG, and so, which that was kind of interesting enough because that was where the one time we have seen American Fiction before obviously PGA, where American Fiction, Barbie, and Oppenheimer had been up against one another at all three, but of course that's not a screenplay category, that's an ensemble category. It just hasn't had the chances to see Greta Gerwig go up there and make impactful speeches, and Cord Jefferson has had those moments like you're mentioning, Eric, like that. Him winning BAFTA still doesn't make any fucking sense. Now, to be fair, BAFTA was very, very non-friendly place for both Killers of the Flower Moon and Barbie. They just were very, like, not for those movies, much like they weren't for Everything Everywhere All at Once last year. So kind of have to, it's, I don't know. He's got the wins for sure, but those wins, obviously not having WGA and all this, even though, certain categories are taken out and Barbie wouldn't have been in there yet, going up against those films anyway there. Yeah. It's such a weird category. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
it is. That BAFTA win gave me flashbacks to when I knew it was all over when Coda won the screenplay BAFTA.
There you go.
Yeah. And just Greta Gerwig's continued losing to that movies that
This
won't
is
hold
better.
up. This is better, but it's
the one she lost to JoJo.
Yeah. I mean, her losing to Jordan Peele, I understand completely. Like, I get
Yeah.
that one 100%. But like the last two, those movies aren't going to hold up nearly as much as her films. That's all. Okay. Let's move on. So Sophia went Oppenheimer. I'm going to go.
Feels wrong, but here we go.
I switched. I'm going to American Fiction. I'm going to go with the wins, even though I would be glad to be wrong in that category. And Eric with American Fiction, just for the listener's sake on that one.
Cord Jefferson's speech at Spirit Awards was pretty amazing.
It was a good speech.
I kind of wish he had saved it, but you never want to save a speech and then lose.
Yeah.
You want to say what you want to say when you can say it.
Yeah.
But he revealed a lot in that speech.
Speaking of somebody that needs to deliver some good speeches, let's do Best Supporting Actress. So the nominees for Best Supporting Actress are Eric's favorite, Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks for The Color Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Diet Can Foster for Nyad, and Davine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. Okay, folks, is there anybody here that is not picking the piece of paper speech from Davine Joy Randolph? I don't care. Her speeches have been boring. Boring. I'm sorry. They are just take them out of the purse, read them like you just wrote them off of Microsoft Word, and then move on and grab the award and leave the stage. They have been soulless, and say nothing about her and who she is. And this has been like the moment we've all kind of wanted. We've wanted this for her for such a long time. We've wanted this since Dolomite Is My Name, for her to have a moment in the sun. And she has just read it off like a PR firm has handed that paper right before she's got the awards. And it's been so disappointing. And I know we're going to say that about some others as well, too. But God damn it. Ditch the paper and speak from the heart, please, because we all know you're winning. You know you're winning. You've won every single precursor up to this point, Miss Randolph. Speak from the heart. Am I wrong about that?
I think she's going to give a great speech at the
Thank you.
Oscars.
I
have
hope
faith.
so. I hope so.
But yeah, I love the performance. I'm excited for her. I think she's winning. Jodie Foster, I also love her here.
I love Jodie. I'm sure all the people in the comments will be like, I don't like your phrase, Ryan. But
Oh my God.
Erik, anything to note on Danielle Brooke? Or on
Emily Blunt.
On Emily Blunt. It's the last time you get to talk about her.
I know. I'm sure I'll have to mention her somewhere at some point.
Sometime.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, Dave Joy Randolph is winning this. It's the biggest sweep of the season.
In many seasons.
The actors, really just like next level sweeping.
Dominance. Yeah.
And honestly, nobody saw this coming before we saw it. You know what I mean? Here's our early predictions of things. But even when it screened at Telluride, it wasn't like, oh, this is the winning performance. It just started happening, and it turned into a snowball that absolutely was. It just ran. She ran with it. It was kind of incredible to watch. I'm not like a lot of people, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm not turned off by sweeps or get bored of them once we get to the Oscars. I don't. I think there's a certain comfort in sweeps that certainly takes the prediction part out of it entirely. But otherwise, I don't mind it that much. I would mind it if I was a fellow nominee and went to every single one of these things and lost every single time. I would feel like, great. How many times can I clap my hand? This is so fun.
Yeah. It is fun when you saw Jeffrey Wright when he won the Spirit Award. The only good thing about that was when he went up there, he goes, you lose a lot of these things and kind of sucks, and you start thinking about the whole process. Then you win one, it kind of changes everything. That was kind of funny.
Underline that exact thing exactly right there. It was pretty funny, and undeserved.
Yes.
But that aside, yes, I do hope that she kind of, breaks free and speaks from the heart as much as she can, or wants to. On Oscar night, it would be great. I know she's going to look amazing. She is absolutely.
She's been killing the red carpet.
Destroyed every look. Absolutely, just stunning.
Yeah, I hope she pulls like a.
I can't wait for that.
Hope she pulls like a Helen Mirren and like takes her AI ridden script and just rips it up and then goes full on in the speech, like 3 minutes.
You're really going in the paint here with her.
I'm just saying. We were talking about like, please put the paper away, and then the next day we saw the Spirit Awards, and she literally she pulled out the speech. I'm like, no, this is the indie spirit. It's a very laid back environment. Like, you can't even do it there. Like, it's just been a little disappointing from that side of things. Just like it's been a little disappointing for some of the speeches for our next batch of contenders. Erik, Best Supporting Actor.
Okay, but I guess we're moving on.
Yeah, we can move on.
I mean, we really should. It's not like there's a whole lot to talk about, in that category.
Yeah,
and there really won't be a whole lot in this one either.
Nope.
For Best Supporting Actor, we have Robert De Niro, Robert Downey Jr., Mark Ruffalo, Ryan Gosling, and Sterling K. Brown.
You didn't say for what films they were just going to throw them.
Because I needed to do that. Oh my God.
Brown, American Fiction, De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon, Downey for Oppenheimer, Gosling for Barbie, and for Ruffalo, Poor Things. There you go.
Okay. The others, this is the other sweep of the season, and it's Robert Downey Jr., who has been quite the opposite of Dave Joy Randolph in his speeches, which are kind of full of, I knew I was getting this, and sort of this like fake why sort of aura around it. But I feel like the veneer of that is cracking a little bit. And his last speech sort of like
it was close.
The SAG speech did kind of really I think, is finding where he's going to let himself be completely vulnerable in the speech and not just put on a sort of act that, that he kind of knows that it's a little bit of a legacy win, and he knows that it's, a big part of it is who he is in the industry and the characters that he's played and the very up and down life that he has had. And I think, and I kind of hope that he talks a little bit about that in his speech. It is a big component of his career and of his life. Everybody knows it because it was all very public. His drug period was such a huge part of media and news, and it, and he's talked about before. It's not like he doesn't talk about it. So I kind of hope he does. I hope he really kind of uses it to talk about his father, who he hasn't talked about really in his speeches either. Like, I feel like, unlike somebody else, he is waiting because he knows that it's happening. I think he's waiting for the Oscar stage to do that, to really go in with sort of like a career retrospective of himself and a life retrospective. And I think that's what people want.
Yeah.
Any of us want that in a speech. They just want to hear the blood and guts. And I feel like he will do that.
Sophia?
I feel the same way. I think, this has been one of the sweeps. I'm not predicting anyone else here. And I do think his Oscar speech will be about his dad. I feel like, and it might make me cry, which will be wild because I don't want him to win. I don't really care. I don't think it's going to be a bad win. Let me say that. But for me to be moved by a win, usually I have to be very happy with the winner, but I can see his speech making me emotional.
Mm-hmm.
I think he has the potential to because I think he's been very measured because he's playing the game and understands that, we've seen actors before. They'd say a speech. I think of Stallone. I think of Eddie Murphy sort of fall as well in the race too. I think of all these megastars that have been in this position before that have said or slipped up or whatnot. And he's played it. He's tried to play it as best he can. I know that watching his tribute at the Santa Barbara Film Festival, when Cillian Murphy and Rob Lowe and everybody presented him, he was very emotional that night. He was also kind of emotional at even the idea of him being considered a movie star. If you go back, watch some of those clips, he was very touched by a lot of this. And I think a lot of this also too, he's very grateful and he's very complimentary to Christopher Nolan, sort of kind of giving him a second chance to be a real actor. And I think that is shown. And I know that the speeches are one thing, and that's in front of the cameras and the persona, but the Q&As and the conversations that he's had have really, I think, won him over so many points, and also being there for his lead in Cillian Murphy throughout this entire process and taking still a back seat to those while still being funny and the movie star that Downey is. It is a career win. It is also, I think, a very good his best performance that he's given in a long, long time. It's going to be, I forgot to do this. This is important. I've just totally forgot something. Now this whole episode's going to wake up. So there was big news this past week at the Academy Awards that it was announced that they're going back to something that I know Eric's like, Jesus, like right back in the back of my head, that they are going to bring out the five past winners.
I can't believe we didn't start with this.
I forgot about this, but I wanted to bring this up at supporting actress. Okay, so they are going to bring on 5 past winners. They did it at the 2009 ceremony for the year of 2008, and it was one of my favorite bits they ever did. We've been wanting this for 15 years, and it kind of almost felt like they were going to save it for the 100th, but they're bringing it back this year. So I kind of wanted to really quickly, if we could go through all these, if there's maybe one or two that you would like to see that hasn't been announced, because there have been some, like actors kind of pretty much all, or I'm sorry, actors pretty much all taken up at this point. We can talk about that here in a second, but let's go back to supporting actress just real quick. Is there anybody that you particularly would love to see come out and talk about one of these nominees? Maybe they have a connection. Maybe it would just be a kooky way to tie in their performances or their films, or just a random pair you'd just like to see to spice up the goddamn night. Erik?
You mean, so following the line of a previous winner, supporting actress?
Yes, supporting actress. Yeah.
If it hadn't already, and I know most people that are like doing these predictions are way too much attaching like a previous relationship to people.
Yeah.
When they did not do that. Goldie Hawn and Taraji P. Henson were not in a movie together or buddies. They, it wasn't a line like that. But I kind of wish they had not done that bizarre Devil Wears Prada reunion at SAG, because I think Streep doing Blunt would be wonderful. I think that would be really, really cool.
Does Meryl has a supporting
Kramer.
for Kramer versus Kramer, right?
Kramer.
Okay.
One of my favorites of hers.
Absolutely. I think that would be a super cool.
Well, the other way of that, Erik, is Anne Hathaway doing Emily Blunt because she won for Les Mis. So that's the other way.
It almost feels like that will probably happen. But again, they're not attaching, everything's not apples to apples.
If there wasn't just
like that.
If it was more like the 2010 ceremony, it was somebody close, they could have just brought out Stanley Tucci, and that would have been really great. But they're doing the winners. So, Sophia, do you have somebody in mind that obviously, I think it kind of makes sense that Jamie Lee Curtis is going to go with, because the previous winner is also going to be included.
This is what I'm going for.
Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say Jamie Lee Curtis for Jodie Foster.
Okay.
Because I was thinking about Freaky Friday.
Oh, that's great.
And I just love like the thematic tie-in, and they're friends, right? Yeah. Like they are friends and have that existing relationship. But I like they've had very different career arcs, but they have enough little similarities where I think it could be fun. And the Freaky Friday connection was really what I fixated on.
Yeah.
I would love to see, for America Ferrera, I would like to see Rita Moreno come out there and speak I think that would actually really make Ferrera cry, to be fair, to have Rita Moreno come out. It would make me cry to see her come out as well. I think that would be an amazing moment for sure. I'm just trying to think of, for Brooks and Randolph, is there someone? Trying to think anything. It could be anybody.
It does not have to be a connective tissue for either of them.
Yeah, my favorite when they did this way back, and the connection that I was talking with Erik about earlier in the week was like the last time they did this was in 2009, and the best supporting actor winner came from a Christopher Nolan film, in Heath Ledger in that film, and Robert Downey Jr. was nominated for Tropic Thunder. One of my favorite moments of all of those was when Cuba Gooding Jr. introduced the clip for Robert Downey Jr. and it was, they talked about it openly in the room of how it felt like Downey did such a good job. He was taking roles from black actors in that case, and it was a really funny moment between the telecast, and it could be really playful too. And then like Joel Grey, I think, came on, and Christopher Walken came on and talked about Michael Shannon, which was kind of perfect. And then Kevin Kline came out and talked about Ledger, which is still one of the most beautiful tributes I've seen at the Oscars. But do you guys, obviously, yes.
I want them to have the guts to ask Melissa Leo to come back and do one of these. And,
oh my
and,
God.
And then
Consider this shit.
And she can do, Davine or Danielle. I think that would be super fun.
That would be fun.
Wacky as hell.
Yeah, I think, okay, so for supporting actor, like, obviously, just to also put on my cards on too, yes, Robert Downey Jr. is going to win it, and I think it'll be a really great speech and everything, but, who's going to go up and talk about De Niro?
Oh.
Hopefully not Troy Kotsur.
For God's sakes. Eric.
What?
He's been everywhere though.
You know he's coming.
Yeah.
He's gonna be there.
He'll be there.
You talk about Ruffalo. Yeah, who would talk about De Niro?
De Niro is, tough.
Yeah.
You know, if Christoph Waltz was kind of doing anything, I feel like he's not doing anything anywhere like ever. I never see him. It would be kind of I think he might be good for that.
Yeah. I think Mahershala Ali would be, because I believe he is on the short list, if I'm not mistaken.
He's doing it.
Yeah. And Sam Rockwell as well too, right? Which Rockwell fills either like a Ruffalo or a Downey, Mark, because they are friends there as well. Yeah, I mean,
he feels like a Ruffalo.
Yeah.
I love how much Bravo Sam Rockwell watches. It's one of my favorite things about him.
Maybe they get Benicio del Toro to come out.
What about Joe Pesci?
Oh man, if they got Joe Pesci out to do that, do you know how much I would cry? Holy shit. God, that would be so good. Oh my God.
Just looking through the list and that one jumped out to me.
Yeah, I'm just I mean, they could bring Denzel out. He's not going to do supporting actor, but I'm just trying to. Yeah, they could bring Jared Leto out to talk about.
Please no.
Talk about. I don't know.
Please no.
Sterling K. Brown.
You know what would actually be amazing?
Mm.
If Gene Hackman, 94-year-old Gene Hackman, for playing a Western villain, came to do De Niro's.
That would be pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah. I feel like
he's like in his own, he's retired. He's living his life away from Hollywood. So
yeah. I would love Brad Pitt probably coming out for Gosling, or Christian Bale coming out for Gosling would make sense. They previously worked.
I don't know. I think Bale doing Robert Downey Jr. would be great and make a whole lot of sense too. There is a degree of separation there that makes a lot of sense.
Oh, Bale and Downey Jr. Yeah. I mean, they both worked with Christopher Nolan. Again, it would be if Bale came out and talked about Downey, and the last time Downey was nominated was for The Dark Knight, and to bring that whole thing full circle, that would be kind of.
Downey, what do you mean? No, he's only been nominated once before.
He's been nominated for Tropic Thunder and Chaplin. Yeah, but Bale,
the year of.
Yeah, because the year that Tropic Thunder came out was the year The Dark Knight came out.
Downey Jr. was nominated for The Dark Knight. What?
No.
A different timeline.
It would bring a full circle moment for that movie and Nolan and everything there. Yeah, that would be really interesting. Okay, let's move along, shall we? Best Actor, Sophia Ciminello.
Oh my God.
Best Actor.
Best actor. Well, we're not going to do the game. We'll set aside the game for just for a second.
Okay.
Let's talk about the nominees for best.
Wait, this is a different.
We're moving on to regular predictions. Sorry, okay. I derailed this podcast. I meant to talk about this beforehand.
I needed a little zhuzh, with all these predictable categories.
Exactly. There you go.
Our nominees here, we have Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, and Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction. I have Cillian Murphy. I think he's going to win this pretty easily. There was a time when I thought it could be Paul Giamatti, and I do love that performance, but I think this is Cillian's. He's won everywhere he's needed to. He's the lead of the Best Picture winner, so I think it's going to be him.
Eric,
it's funny because the connection of Best Picture and Best Actor is not what it used to be. It used to be like almost inextricable. And since the expanded lineup, we've had like 2. So it's really not a nomination. Yes, but a win is far less a guaranteed thing than it used to be. Cillian Murphy's BAFTA win is historic. So that win was not set in stone either. Right. And it's still kind of wild that we are here and he is a pretty defined front runner. There are just so many things that are non-traditional about him being able to win. And also the box office element of a film like this for an acting category that isn't like a quirky supporting one, is really unique. So I think his path has been very unique to him, and this, and it's great. I love it. I may not be totally into and obsessed with the performance, but between this and when we get to actress, if we are by any stretch of the imagination turning a corner on lead performances that have subtlety as their main driver for their performance rather than big moments, even if it's biopicky, I'm all for that. I mean, I love, and I say this as somebody who thinks Bradley Cooper should win, and he gives the biggest performance of anybody here.
Yeah. And he's not reining it in. You know,
I don't want him to rein it in.
Oh, that's the performance you're not supposed to rein in.
It is one of my favorite performances of the year. But just in terms of the Oscars and just being able to be willing to do something different, I'm completely in favor for it. So.
I am so happy that he's winning this. It's one of my favorite performances of the year. I mean, it's one of my favorite performances of the year and my favorite movie of the year. And I mean, if it wasn't going to be him, I wouldn't have given it to anybody in this. I would have loved to see somebody like Andrew Scott get nominated, and how will we look back on this year and how he had not won a single goddamn award outside a couple of critics groups maybe is absolutely ridiculous. I think it's a really good lineup. I mean, depending on how you go back and forth with people online about Leo's performance and him not being in here, which is a performance we all thought was going to get nominated if we thought about this category a year ago. And knowing Killers of the Flower Moon was 2 years ago. The last 2 years we thought, we all thought that it was going to get in and it didn't. I mean, Coleman Domingo, obviously looking like he's going to have so much more success and so many more opportunities and so many more biopic roles to land an Oscar in the next 5 years. Paul Giamatti, a veteran who definitely, I do not think this is his last bite of the apple. He's got a supporting actor Oscar with his name written all over it in a couple of years from somebody. And then obviously Bradley Cooper, he only grows stronger with every loss. And he's going to make something that I think is going to ultimately be undeniable and everything. And then Jeffrey Wright,
he absolutely won for Licorice Pizza.
He should have been nominated for Licorice Pizza. Correct. But then Jeffrey Wright, obviously winning the Spirit Award, great consolation. Well, not a great consolation prize. It's not a great win, but he won something. And a veteran actor that I absolutely love, and that he finally got a nomination. But I mean, Cillian Murphy, it also feels like if he doesn't win this one, will he ever win one again as well too? I don't think that he'll get a role he is the titular role. He is in this movie like 70% of the time. And he's fantastic throughout the entire bit. And
so is The Whale. That's not a reason to give somebody an Oscar.
Okay. Do you want to really fucking compare last year's disastrous Papa John eating fucking bullshit win to this? The guy can't even go on stage and accept an award without looking like he's going to turn into shambles. For God's sake. He was
going to cry during his announcement, and he wasn't even like a nominee.
I am here to present Killers of the Flower Moon for SAG Ensemble.
That was like Brendan Fraser doing Julia Child.
Exactly. To me, it's my favorite win in this category. Win in if he wins, in a long, long time. I do not think, though, I mean, there is still the possibility of a Paul Giamatti win. He's number 2, but it seems like with the BAFTA win and SAG win, it's a distant 2. That is for sure. And Cillian Murphy will be our a great addition to an otherwise, Sophia and I usually talking about this, a very disappointing Best Actor lineup. If you look over the past 24 years, it's a pretty goddamn good performance to reward, especially due to its subtlety in the performance as well, and everything. So, yeah. But here's the other thing: is we know 4 of the people that are going to be up on this stage.
Yep.
We know that it's going to be the whale himself, Brendan Fraser. It's going to be all right, Matthew McConaughey. It's going to be Al Pacino, and it's going to be and Nicolas Cage is the other one. So, I mean, who do we want to be the 5th one is the other question. And then I feel like the other one is probably going to be maybe someone like Gary Oldman, potentially.
I doubt Gary Oldman is going to come out for this.
I mean, he's in Oppenheimer.
I know,
I mean,
he made poor Ruth build a new set because he was only available on one day.
Exactly. I mean, he has his connection to Cillian Murphy. He also has his connection to Jeffrey Wright, which I think would mean a lot to Jeffrey Wright. In my interview with him, with Jeffrey Wright, he talked about how much Oldman means to him as an actor and that generation of actors.
It would be great, and it would be fun as the Jeffrey Wright connection for sure.
Yes.
I also wonder, though, if Al Pacino is actually going to do this category, or if he and Michelle will present another category together as like a little, like a
Scarface reunion. Yeah, that could definitely.
I think we might be reading too much into 4 Best Actor winners, because having Michelle Pfeiffer, I mean, everybody was like a winner, and then it was like Michelle Pfeiffer and Zendaya.
Yeah,
it was like Michelle Pfeiffer being there and Al Pacino being there. It's too hard to like not overlook the.
Are we pretty confident though in Cage being a part of the group here?
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think people kind of always forget that
because they
Nicolas
did that,
Cage.
and then they announced that it's the winner thing. It's like, oh, okay.
Okay. I think that
Will Smith won't be it. So
well, yeah, that's a real shame. I guess. No, I would love to see Nicolas Cage talk about Maestro, specifically the "I'm reining it in" scene, because that does feel like it's right out of a Nicolas Cage movie. And yeah, I mean, McConaughey to Murphy makes sense. They've both been in Christopher Nolan films, so that also makes sense as well. A lot of and Pacino's also, if he does end up doing this, it would also make sense with Murphy. He was in Insomnia as well. A lot of Oscar winners that worked with that Christopher Nolan. And so, is there anybody that you guys would like to see show up? I mean,
you know my answer.
Malek.
Not Rami Malek. Yeah.
Not Rami Malek.
Boy, talk about an Oppenheimer connection.
Yeah.
Oh, wouldn't that be something if Rami Malek came out and for his 2 lines, since he literally saves Oppenheimer's ass at the end of the movie, if he came out and gave him the Oscar, that would be kind of funny. Anyway,
on the opposite side of that, the worst possible thing would be Rami Malek introducing Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, that would be.
Don't I can't.
I would destroy my television.
Yeah.
Wait, no, I'm gonna be there. Oh God, no, that can't happen.
Yeah, you're gonna be there, dude. I mean, obviously, Sophia. There's one special man.
Daniel Day-Lewis there. I need Daniel Day-Lewis there. He went to the Gotham Awards, so he's around. It's very possible. But what I'll say is that I think he would be great for Cillian Murphy, because there was this lovely video of Cillian and Christopher Nolan earlier from the season where Cillian talked about what an inspiration Daniel Day-Lewis was to him as a child, and watching him act when he was growing up. And they also have a nice little Ireland connection. I know that
in the name of the Father.
Daniel Day-Lewis is a Londoner, but he does have Irish roots and has residence in Ireland right now. So
holy shit!
That's what makes Cillian the first Irish BAFTA winner, and everybody like went crazy and were like, Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm like, do your homework.
I didn't see that, but I would have corrected them.
And honestly,
I had people in my mentions going bonkers.
And Sophia and I have talked about this throughout the season. Honestly, like a younger Daniel Day-Lewis would have played fucking J. Robert Oppenheimer easily, not even close. Like, that's holy shit. I kind of want that now. That would be kind of great.
I hope they don't ask Sean Penn He's terrible at the Oscars.
I think Denzel would be great. I want star power. I want Daniel Day-Lewis. I want Denzel Washington.
What if they asked Sean Penn for Coleman Domingo? Because didn't the co-writer or the writer of Milk write Rustin?
Yes. Yeah. But
that's a big stretch, but
Yes,
Yeah.
he also has, Licorice Pizza with Bradley Cooper. That could be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm worried that Brendan Fraser will do Bradley Cooper.
You could get Tom Hanks to do Buyer Rustin, Philadelphia. Just say. Get Tom Hanks. Get everybody out there. Get the big stars out there. Don't settle for for second place. Go out and get some big names.
Yeah.
John Voight's available.
Oh my god.
I don't know if that's the big name we want.
Why don't you just ask Kevin Spacey while you're at it?
Dustin Hoffman's available.
Casey Affleck.
Casey Affleck. I mean, Casey Affleck did star in Oppenheimer. So no. Obviously, probably somebody like Anthony Hopkins won't show up. I mean, it's no. Or Joaquin Phoenix, since they're still probably doing.
What's Adrian Brody doing?
Oh, I want to know what he's doing.
He should talk about.
I'm not going to continue that.
They got a little hot in here for a second. Oh my god! All right.
They need to get Russell Crowe, but only if he comes out as the Pope's exorcist.
I was just gonna say only as the Pope's exorcist. Oh,
yeah,
that would be great. Yeah, if he performed like a seance in front of everybody, that would be wonderful. All right. Best director. I'm moving around a little bit. The nominees are Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Does anybody have anybody other than Christopher Nolan winning this award? No. This is not a visual podcast, folks. Okay.
That was like dead silence.
Yeah, it was like dead silence. A response, please. Christopher Nolan, congratulations. This is the Oscar that is definitely his. It is I cannot get out of my head, Eric, what you said earlier in this year. This is his James Cameron. This is his Steven Spielberg moment where he is at the height of his powers. The Academy has embraced him. He's made a giant hit, and he is now, with this Oscar, the biggest director in Hollywood, period, end of story, and will be able to do whatever the hell he wants, probably for the remainder of his life. And he made a movie that none of us saw being this big, this popular, and ultimately being one of the most highly rewarded films in award season history.
I don't know about that.
It is. It's got more.
The last decade, yes, but in history,
it is.
We've had double-digit winners. This is.
No, I'm talking about the totality of the whole season. I'm not talking about just at the Oscars.
Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, Christopher Nolan. It's a great win. Very good win. Very good movie. Very good direction.
It's fascinating to me that the Oscars have always been so reticent to award major blockbuster directors.
Yeah.
Like Spielberg and Cameron. It took so long for it to happen. And for each of them, it took an even, bigger blockbuster than they had ever had. Or for Spielberg, to have two in the same year, one being a blockbuster, the other being a very, very big box office film, but the career serious film. It just, the voters' minds are so funny to me sometimes.
Took him to
back is wild.
It took him to get to make World War II movies for them to like him. Sophia, good win here for Nolan. I mean, he's the obvious winner. He's been kind of that the whole season, right? I mean, obviously, I would love somebody like also Jonathan Glazer get his flowers here for The Zone of Interest.
Good win, not my winner. I would go with Jonathan Glazer pretty easily.
Easily for me too.
And I wrote up my FYC paragraph on our piece on AwardsWatch. And I just feel like when you compare, one of my points that I made in that is that when you think about Oppenheimer Killers of the Flower Moon and The Zone of Interest as these like three films that we had this year that look at the past and how that informs the present and how like the actions of people in the past, how that connects to today. And I think Glazer used the form in the best way compared to Nolan and Scorsese, who I love dearly, who would be my second pick. But I just feel like Glazer, for me, like what he did was truly astonishing and unlike anything I'd ever seen before. And Nolan, I think this is his best movie, though. Like I like Oppenheimer better than anything else that he's made. I think it's a good win. It's just not what I would vote for.
Yeah. I know you guys think it's good. I do think it's great. I think multiple of these wins would have been great. I would have loved to see Martin Scorsese also try, get another one. Another director that took forever, right, Erik, in order to get loved by the Academy.
Yeah, exactly.
And
forever.
Think about that.
Forever.
So weird.
Yeah.
And
then
get, Tom Hoopers who can win, for
motherfucker. Don't
farting out of fisheye lens.
Yeah. I mean, well, the thing about that is then there was a little bit of an urgency and an undeniability of when someone like Spielberg got his second, and even though he didn't win picture, he won his second director. There's not been that sense of urgency since, Marty. It's almost as if which is a real goddamn fucking shame and really just stupid, that the idea of like this great director, such an important person, not just from his work, but in his work outside of his films, to preserve and save so many movies and to champion so many movies. The idea of the industry not giving him more flowers is kind of crazy. He just got the David O. Selznick Award over at the PGA this past week with an absolutely incredible opening by Guillermo del Toro. Talk about somebody that will for sure win another batch of Oscars down the road. I mean, I don't know if you haven't never seen that, go online. It's on YouTube and watch Del Toro. He perfectly nails why it is important to reward Martin Scorsese. And yes, I mean,
Scorsese
all three
was a hoot too.
His was all over
about that damn Alfred Hitchcock win at the milestone dinner. Oh my god, it was
I love
great.
him.
What a historian.
He's a great storyteller.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Okay. Best Picture. Let's go over and talk about those. Yes, we are.
Oh.
I'll read it off. Best Picture: American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. I'm going to do it one more time, folks. Is there anybody here that is not picking Oppenheimer to win Best Picture? No?
There was a world where
in a world
in this, preferential ballot era that we are in, where The Holdovers or American Fiction were kind of both potential upsets and spoilers here.
Yep.
But when we really look at when something is thwarted in its path, usually at PGA, it's because it's been winning a lot of things or everything, and there is a contingent of people that really don't like that film or are very vocal about not liking it, or it being deemed cold, and then it becomes sort of a seasoned villain.
Yeah.
And people start actively searching for the alternative. That's how we get codas, is because of that.
That's how we get Green Books.
That's how we get Green Book. Roma became a villain in that sense. That did not happen this year. There was no detractor of Oppenheimer that was vocal enough or sensical enough. So we are here in a massive sweep. We were last year as well. I wonder if, with 7 wins for Everything Everywhere last year, and at least, I mean, the floor is 8 for Oppenheimer. If we're entering that era again of big wins, because we were not getting anything like that for so long,
for a decade plus.
Absolutely, yeah. The expanded lineup kind of destroyed that in a really fun and kind of neat way. But maybe we're going back. I don't know.
Who knows? Sophia?
It is kind of interesting that it is this movie to be the one to break that all, because it just doesn't, I don't know. It's just interesting to me. And it is also strange that it didn't have a backlash to it, because that's just what we've come to expect, or what I've come to expect year over year. It's like, okay, if something is the front runner for a significant period of time, that's just naturally what happens, especially in the drawn out season. And I don't think that Oppenheimer is like a film that is bulletproof really either. Like on paper, it doesn't make sense that way. Like there are a lot of things I think you can pull apart in it and things you can fixate on, but it was bulletproof. I mean, there was just nothing. People didn't even try, it seemed like.
Well, I mean, there was a little bit about, why didn't you show the bomb and the aftermath of that, and it just didn't stick.
Yeah.
At all.
No, because then you had the Maestro controversies or the Killers of the Flower Moon controversies.
Which also have not stuck. Nothing has actually
Nothing
stuck.
has.
Well,
I'm so happy about that. Like, for real, though.
Yeah, nothing really.
I mean, I think it was mostly just like, I mean, when a masterpiece is presented to you and you want to vote for it, because a lot of people believe that, and it's a very popular movie, and it is an undeniable kind of movie. Like, it's $1 billion movie. You can't say nobody's seen it. Like other winners in the past, like you could say, who the fuck's seen Coda? Who the fuck's seen Green Book? Who the fuck's seen some of the Nomadland? Who's seen those movies? Everybody saw Oppenheimer. Everybody knows this movie. People paid to see it multiple times. I mean, I talked about this in our FYC about it being a return to the fold, that we haven't had an epic win in a long, long time. That's what Oppenheimer is. We haven't had it in 15 years since Lord of the Rings, essentially. We haven't, and it could definitely be the biggest winner on Oscar night since Lord of the Rings. It has the potential to do that, if not just tie Slumdog Millionaire, which I was telling Eric this past week, so fucking weird. I always forget about Slumdog Millionaire had 8 fucking wins. Fucking nuts. 8 fucking wins. Stupid.
I just always think about how Faye Dunaway left in the middle of her screening. She said, "I've had enough," or "That's it."
Good for her.
Left.
Good for Faye.
It's my favorite story.
But no, I just think that also too, Nolan is very beloved, and so many people love working with him. I do think also Universal had a hell of a campaign for this thing. And Cillian Murphy, Robert Downey Jr., and Emily Blunt, 4 very likable, popular people, were the driving force of this entire campaign. They did everything together. The Oppen Homies moniker has kind of stuck, and it was cool to vote for them. And people wanted to be around them, and people wanted to talk to them. They are nice people. It was not, there was never the sense of, God, I mean, outside of Eric's performance of hating Emily Blunt, God, Emily Blunt, what a bitch, or Robert Downey Jr., what an asshole, or Cillian Murphy, fuck that guy. There was the sense of like, these people are great in this movie, and Nolan is great, and he made a great movie, and that's all there is. I mean, Eric told me I had 45 seconds to do this. I have said for a long time that I thought that this was going to be our Best Picture winner, all the way back in the mountains of Telluride. And I hadn't wavered on that. And there were times where I mean, American Fiction We did think about that at moments, like you did mention, Eric, and the holdovers, but that would have helped if like the holdovers had gotten a better shot at screenplay, or American Fiction had something outside of just its screenplay potential win and got more, maybe more of a push for Wright or for Brown. But then when you start looking at the path of things, you start looking at a path for a movie, every movie that has something here had something where that's nominated up against Oppenheimer. It had something that it lost, or it didn't get enough to show an overperformance. There's a lot of underperforming with a lot of these movies, and ultimately the consensus was this is the movie. And it's a big movie also to celebrate. It's a big blockbuster of hopefully what a lot of filmmakers want to make going forward is this kind of movie. And it's a special movie. I love it. It's the first time since Moonlight that my number one movie of the year is going to win Best Picture. And I don't care if people start calling it boring or start saying it's just fine or whatever. I don't give a shit. I love it. And you can cry your fucking tears, because I had to sit here last year and deal with the Everything Everywhere All at Once sweeps and stuff. You can take it the other way and it'd be even a bigger sweep.
No, but nobody's challenging this. Why are you putting up a fight that, like,
I love it.
Nobody is like in with you. You're such a weirdo.
No, it's a great win. Great across the board. All right. Best Actress. I saved the best for last. Eric, you get to read the nominees and go first.
All right, here we go. We have we have Annette Bening as Diana Nyad in Nyad,
the water nymph.
Yes, keep on swimming, Bening. We have Lily Gladstone as Molly Burkhart in Killers of the Flower Moon. We have Sandra Schuller as Sandra Voiter in Anatomy of a Fall. Carrie Mulligan as Felicia
Montalegre Cohen Bernstein.
In Maestro. And Emma Stone as Bella Baxter in Poor Things.
Okay.
Where am I going here?
Where are you going? And then there were two in this category, I think.
Everything was always going to come down to SAG, much more than BAFTA for me. Regardless of Gladstone not being there, I think it might. I don't know if this makes sense, but in my head it makes sense. If she had been nominated and lost, it would have been worse than her not getting it at all. I think there is hopefully some sense to that in direct competition, you lose to somebody else. But SAG is just such a much stronger correlation, a much stronger connection too. And even as each year goes by, we're going to see either it become less or stronger, or just all of the little things in between that can kind of fracture the structure of that. But when we look at who's won SAG and then lost, we've got Viola Davis twice. Still so horrible.
Well, not the second time, but the first time for sure.
No, actually the second time was worse, and it was worse in the sense that her winning for Ma Rainey while it won makeup made sense. There was a logic. There was a through line that we have seen work for other people.
No, for sure.
That didn't work for her.
I was just saying in terms of the quality of performance, okay. Erica. Yeah, that's
it was an exceptional year, as we know.
Yeah.
Where in 2020,
a
different actress won all different things.
Except Vanessa Kirby. God damn.
Fascinating. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
For precursors.
Yeah. What a year that was. I swear to God. That was one for the ages.
It was a lot.
And then, of course, there's Glenn Close. That is and even because
sorry, Kevin Jacobson.
She was Glenn Close, and narrative took her only so far once again. So we have to ask ourselves, is Lily Gladstone the SAG winner and the biggest hurdle that she was really going to have this year? Is she Viola Davis? Is she Glenn Close? Or is she every, other actress in a very, 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 very long time, to be able to just translate that to a SAG win to an Oscar win? I don't think that there is any type of Glenn Close connection to this. Close was the only nomination for her film, and she came in as, an 8-time nominee. Gladstone is a first time in a movie with 10 nominations. Much stronger. You cannot make really an argument that there is a close connection to that. I think you can make a closer argument to Viola Davis and her losses here, slightly closer, because we are talking about women of color and this category that has given 2 women of color in 95 years wins.
Mm-hmm.
So it's closer to that. It's certainly closer. But I think Emma Stone is incredibly strong here. But the SAG win was enough for me to go back to Lily Gladstone, who had been my number one for months and months and months. And then when I started doing not the monthly predictions, but the Front Runner Friday every week, I moved over to Emma Stone, and I am going back to Lily Gladstone.
Sophia?
So if Lily Gladstone doesn't win this Oscar, I will have a new answer to Kevin Jacobson's question, what is your most heartbreaking loss? I'm just going to come out and say it. That will be my updated take. I think for me, I am predicting Lily Gladstone. And normally when I feel personally attached to someone and their, place in a race, I shouldn't go with that person. I should just prepare for devastation. And I think I am a little bit in the back of my mind. I know it's possible that Emma Stone could win her second Oscar for Poor Things and could beat Lily and Sandra here, who I prefer. But SAG for me was a huge deal because SAG, like we talked about last week, Emma Stone, that performance is what they go for traditionally. The big, loud, physical, the dance she does, acting like a baby, that is SAG. It is not what Lily Gladstone does. It is not acting in a wide shot. It is not acting with your eyes and no dialogue. Like that's really rare for them. And again, seeing that standing ovation, giving a televised speech during voting, I don't think people have a desire to, give Killers of the Flower Moon a win. It's not the movie, but it's her and her attachment to the movie. And I think that's what people have kind of said all season, right? That she's the person from the movie that they're attached to. And she's been everywhere recently too, like on podcasts, doing profiles in major trades and magazines. And I also saw this clip of Kate Winslet at Berlin talking about how when she watched Lily Gladstone's speech, she was sobbing. And just like hearing people in the industry talk about her in that way and talk about what her win means and just the power of seeing her on stage, they do like to create moments. And I don't think this is like the moment that some people thought was coming with like Chadwick Boseman. Like it's a very different story than some of the other like moments that we think might be coming in the Oscar race. And I feel like people want to vote for her. And so I have her here. And I hope she can pull it off.
Oh, wow. This isn't easy. I don't think it's easy. I think It's clearly between those two. So once again, just going to repeat back what Erik said last week. Stop putting out there in the world, people that are listening, predicting about Sandra Hüller or Annette Bening or, God forbid, Carey Mulligan. Once again, train tickets just did not leave the station for Carey Mulligan this year, even though she's fantastic in Maestro. And so is Sandra Hüller. And then there's Annette Bening. So it goes down to Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone. I've heard so many goddamn arguments about either one of them, not from you guys and from everybody else online or reading things or pieces or all this stuff. And going back and forth of like trying to connect it to last year, which last year is so different than this year because one of those actresses, the one that ultimately won, Michelle Yeoh, who was absent from SAG and hasn't been doing a lot of roundtables or a lot of conversations with other actors this year. So the first time we're going to really see her since the Globe is going to be over at the Oscars. She was in a Best Picture winner, and Cate Blanchett was in another big performance that is something also, right, Sophia, that seems like in their wheelhouse, and BAFTA went for it, just like BAFTA went for Emma Stone, and I understand the correlation that everybody's trying to make. It's different though. Killers of the Flower Moon is a significantly weaker film in terms of support than Everything Everywhere All at Once was at this time of the race. It just is. Poor Things is actually the stronger film. It has more nominations. It has better chances to win in other categories. And even though one film is made by Martin Scorsese and the other is made by Yorgos Lanthimos, and we've seen that train too, is that like Yorgos Lanthimos had a film with multi nominations, and the only one it ended up winning was Best Actress, right? And it was his last one, and it's in highly competitive races with Barbie and Oppenheimer in the craft categories. SAG is so important. As you both mentioned, having that SAG award, having that speech, having something different, I think too. The standing ovation that you pointed out, Sophia, was something that really took me by. It was something that really, I had to go back and look at it because I didn't see it in the moment. And she did. She had a standing ovation. Apple releasing a Q&A with Cate Blanchett, a 30-minute conversation this past week, a 2-time Oscar winner, the Winslet comment, that was great. Like you're mentioning, being on Mark Maron's podcast, getting an honorary recipient award over at the Spirit Awards, being with Marty at the PGA and being at his table, being everywhere, never not being out of mind this entire season. And then of course, the ultimate thing that is another thing that I also think too is the reactions of the other, I mean, obviously minus Annette Bening because she wasn't there, the actions of the other winners or the losers in the category at SAG to Lily Gladstone's win was enormous. And I'm not saying that takes into account, but it does show the overwhelming support for this performance. It is a performance that, Erik, you and I both said, it didn't matter where they put her in it. We thought she was going to win an Oscar if she was in supporting or in lead. And I mean, it would have been really interesting to see her and Randolph go toe to toe because of this historic sweep that Randolph has gone on. But she's in lead where I think she belongs. And she is the heart and soul of that movie. If you like any of that movie whatsoever, you like even if you have problems with DiCaprio or the script or the length of the film, whatever the case may be, the number one thing that everybody has come out of that movie and said, but I still loved Lily Gladstone. And I'm not saying that isn't the case for Emma Stone, but if anyone was going to love that performance, it's SAG. And yet Emma Stone makes perfect sense as well to win this award because she was pretty much winning everything at that point up until SAG. And was SAG enough? You know, we still had about a week left, or less than a week left of voting. I don't know. It's going to be a nail biter. My heart is saying Lily Gladstone. My head is saying Emma Stone. And I don't know how many years the 4 for 4 at SAG is going to continue as well. Also, that's a stat that's been happening a lot the last couple of years, the last 2 years in a row, and that's rare as well. That's something to consider too.
It's, I mean, when I said in my section that there is not a Glenn Close connection to Lily Gladstone, obviously in the sense that Olivia Colman was who won the Oscar for a Yorgos Lanthimos
movie. Yeah.
Yes, there is
no.
that.
Oh, I wasn't trying to make that.
I was. I didn't want it to be misunderstood that.
Oh, I got you.
That there was not a connection. I just meant more in terms of between like Glenn Close as an actor and her career, and Lily Gladstone as an actor and hers.
Yeah, but to be fair, going back to yours, Glenn Close was not nominated, nor was Viola Davis nominated, and Win Ma Rainey for Best Picture. Both of these actresses are nominated for Best Picture.
It's, but I mean,
it's different years, and people, and I'm not saying this is the case for you, Eric,
it's
but
not
everybody,
a requirement though, because
I know
Julianne Moore came in and did what Glenn Close couldn't do.
Yeah, but also she had been sweeping most of the year, so she was undeniable.
But Close had gotten really good. Close.
Yeah.
So close. Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing about the other thing about Lily that I think is interesting, just in comparing her to like Cate Blanchett and why that does, and last year with what happened and everything. One of the things that drives me crazy about Oscar voters, specifically with how they vote for women, is that they do not like women who play unlikable or unsympathetic characters. And Molly Burkhart is a completely sympathetic character.
If there ever was
when you
one.
leave that movie, it is like you feel for her and how everyone has wronged her and her family. So I think like that's another thing where like, yes, the performance might be different from what they typically go for, but that's a big draw for people voting, I think.
I do think though also about Emma's performance and how it's been so talked about and all so out there and wild and crazy and all this stuff. And I just wonder if for some voters it is too much. It does go to places that they're not comfortable with, as opposed to something like Lily's, which is more restrained. And that, and then there is a giant narrative that goes with Lily Gladstone's win too. It would be a historic win. It would be a historic win in this category for back-to-back years for this to happen.
For so many reasons too.
And for so many reasons. Yeah. I mean, Eric, you were talking about it last week. It's not just about her being, a Native American actress. It's also she's LGBTQIA plus. She identifies. That would be an enormous win. She would check off a lot of boxes, but also it would, and not to say that you need to just check off a box in order to vote, but it would also show another sign of stepping in the right direction for a category, like you mentioned, Eric, that 2 out of 96 years, or out of 95 years has been a predominantly white category, and has been the point of frustration from so many people, especially over the last 10 years. So, I haven't even made a pick yet. Oh shit. I've been dodging it. I am going to go with Lily Gladstone, and I'm not confident in it, but I think this is my no guts, no glory. I think I want this performance to win. I think that this should happen. It's a wonderful performance. I mean, obviously, her and Sandra and Carrie deliver phenomenal performances. Emma's performance is very good, though I think we've seen this before from her. And then Annette Bening is, I mean, she's playing the monster from The Shape of Water, and
she's swimming.
I mean, obviously, it's such a fantastic year of Best Actress. I mean, Greta Lee, Natalie Portman, Kaylee Spaney,
Natalie.
So many wonderful actresses. That we're not. I mean, we could replace this 5 and put in a new 5, and it'd be 5 other phenomenal performances as well. But
to clarify, you said picking Lily Gladstone is your no guts, no glory.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
I feel weirdly very good about this.
I don't.
I'm scared. I just don't trust them. That's the thing. Like
I don't trust
them
either.
I don't trust them, Eric. I mean,
I feel good.
Yeah. I don't.
I needed SAG to feel good. Now I feel good.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I know, but I feel like
very good about SAG.
I feel good about SAG, but
if she loses with SAG, and we have the examples of Viola Davis and Glenn Close, I don't know. It's gonna look like what it looks like.
It's gonna look bad, also too. I mean, it will.
I think it will age poorly if she doesn't win.
And Emma Stone knows that, which is why her speeches have been like very why me, and she feels bad.
She
why
should
she
have stopped campaigning earlier then.
She did very I mean, well, she did a lot like what kind of Cate Blanchett did at Critics' Choice, where she's like, she's like, really? That she pointed out every other nominee in the category that was there. And it was very Cate Blanchett, almost like, but it wasn't picked up as much as that was last year. And which is
because the people who want Emma to win a lot of them didn't want Cate to win.
Yep. You're not wrong. And we've seen that online. It's interesting. It goes back to what I said last week. It's like, it's interesting when people want someone to win another Oscar and when they don't want someone to win another Oscar. And when it's someone's time and when it's not somebody's time. But anyway, that's our predictions. We'll see if they even stick until we got a whole week of deliberating and second guessing. But honestly, I think the best is to just stick with what we have, because second guessing always ends up screwing us over in the end. Because it's never a good thing to second guess yourself. Sophia, can you tell everybody where they can find you and all your work on the internet? And final thing before we get out of here, for Best Actress, who would you like? Name a nominee and connect it to a winner, and that's a good way that we can get out of here.
Yeah, so to connect a nominee and a winner, I tweeted this. It's not original by any means, but I would love for Cate Blanchett to present Lily Gladstone's nominee package, her clip, announce her, because she is Lily's favorite actress, and to watch them together and Kate's admiration for her and for that performance, it is just such a beautiful thing. And I love Kate and Lily both so much, and I just feel like it would mean a lot to both of them. So I would say that would be my pairing. And then you can find me on Twitter at Sophia_Sim, Letterboxd, same handle without the underscore. You can find my podcast, Oscar Wilde Pod, on Twitter and all podcast platforms. We just finished up our Contender series. I'm very happy to be finished up with that. A labor of love indeed. And you can also find my reviews and interviews at AwardsWatch and my recent episode of Director Watch, where we talked about Dune Part 2.
Okay. Erik Anderson.
So the worst possible scenario would be Hilary Swank.
That's not the worst. That's the best.
Using Annette Bening.
Hell yeah.
But
I love it.
Like things that I would like maybe would be Ellen Burstyn doing Carey Mulligan, because I think there's a world where she would have played Felicia like 45 plus years ago. I think it would be kind of I can feel it, I can see it. Or like Nicole Kidman doing Sandra Hüller.
Okay. All right. And where can we find
the
you?
Glazer connection.
There you go.
Not that she's nominated for Zone, but
exactly. There's just the crackling there of icy women. And yes, please find me at awardswatch.com and AwardsWatch everywhere that is not Twitter, which is just awards_watch. And we're in the final throes of the insurgency. So we are almost free. But no, I'm loving it. I'm not like,
what have been these comparisons the last couple of weeks? This has been some wild shit out of your mouth.
Some years where I'm like, I just want it to be over, and I know a lot of people are like, just want it to be over and the Oscars to be early. And I'm like, I'm good. I like it where it's at. I think my mental health is in much better shape than I would have expected it to be a week and a half before the Oscars, but there's a week and a half for it to totally break. So we shall see.
Also helps that you just saw Madonna, so that
does help.
Yeah.
That
She's
does
a cure all.
I have not slept. My voice is barely here, and my spirits are.
Mama needs to go to bed. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Ryan McQuade 77. You can find all my work here at AwardsWatch.com, iTunes and Spotify 5-star reviews. You can go over to the website, sign up for the newsletter over there that Erik didn't release this past week, but it's okay. He's going to get back on it. He'll get on that horse. We know it. And if you like podcasts, you can go listen to Director Watch. Next week's this week's coming up episode will be about oh God, what's the movie? Bug. That's right, Bug from William Friedkin. We're continuing our series, me and Jay. People I would like to see go up there. I would love to see I'd love to see like Emma Thompson go up there and talk about Emma Stone and Poor Things. Because I think that like her talking about that would be kind of zany and fun. I mean, obviously the pick for that would be Olivia Colman, but I think Emma Thompson would be a lot more fun. I think that I know that she spoke about Carrie over at the Palm Springs International Film Festival, but I think that Meryl Streep going up there and talking about Carey Mulligan again, they're really close and they share a great relationship. There was someone, I mean, obviously Helen Hunt anywhere, because Erik would love that, for sure. Right, Erik? I mean, no, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. Both of you giving me like that.
No,
really,
I didn't know for a second if that was serious or not. I
No,
kind
that
of
was-
forgot.
no, that was not.
Okay,
no,
good.
That's
my,
not
good.
My anti-Helen Hunt campaign
Pain.
is like 25 years strong now.
Yeah, no, for sure. But no, I would love to. I mean, I'd love to see. I mean, you could get Julia Roberts up there. Some big star names. I mean, it'd be really interesting to see how it all plays out. I did also think in my head just right now, Whoopi Goldberg doing Danielle Brooks would make total sense because of their Color Purple connection. That would make total sense there. That's just a little too on the nose though, but yeah, no, it'd be, I mean, you can't have like Jodie Foster or a bunch of other people come out. I would say there is one, if we were going to do Lily Gladstone, it's not Cate Blanchett. Jane Fonda would be the person I would love to see talk about Lily Gladstone's performance. I don't know why that was the first name that came up into my brain. Just when the other day when this was announced, and I was like, God, Jane Fonda just up on a stage in general would be iconic, but to talk about that performance and the importance of it, yeah, that's what I think I've tested you, Sophia, and being like, Jane would love Lily and Killers of the Flower Moon.
Well,
So
this all started because I texted you and said, I love guessing who Faye Dunaway would vote for, and I know she would love Anatomy of a Fall.
Oh, she totally would. She totally would. Surprised she didn't push Warren down the stairs the night of the envelope rip.
Saying,
you know,
Chinatown reunion.
I'm just
Her
saying,
and
let's
Jack
do
Nicholson. It. Let's present Best Picture.
I mean, if he can go to a Laker game, he can go rip an envelope, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, well, we'll be back next week recording live right after the Oscars with Dan, Tyler, and maybe some other of our esteemed colleagues here at Awards Watch. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.